Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Hello.
Slime again. We're back with more
hmm
slime time. I'm honestly very happy that this is happening again because after this weekend, I wasn't 100% sure we were going to be able to do this stream. All right, since Shem doesn't know, I'll explain this again. I accidentally reformatted the wrong hard drive this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
And I lost all
That
of our
sucks.
abridging content. I tried to grab it from said, uh, I tried to recover it from said hard drive, but it kept freezing up on me. So I recovered deleted folders of my abridged stuff from a previous hard drive. It pulled all that up, but it was all corrupted. So now I have to send it all
Mm.
off to someone else to like uncorrupt it,
Get it like.
hopefully, and get it all
Does
back.
that include episode 9?
Yeah.
Oh
Mm.
shit!
Yeah.
I didn't
That
even
blows.
realize that until just now. God.
Well, I
Mm.
mean, that doesn't really do I mean, it slows down episode 9 a little. I have to recut all the
Yeah.
lines that I had cut. By the way, guys, if you're not a patron, you may want to think about doing that. This weekend, I did a special secret stream for our patrons only where I cut all of the lines for our post-credit scene for Slime Season 1. So, like, yeah, it's another way that we tie Log Horizon and Slime back together. That having been said, yeah, that happened. Guess Steve finally did shut up. Yeah, I don't possess the music or the image anymore, so I had to make do. Hope you like the new logo for Slime Night novels. The image was due for an update anyway, and I just like the idea of Rimuru just really happy and excited to read more books. And that is why. On a personal note, the VA said that the injury that I had on my shoulder that was caused from it being dislocated, and the surgery I had on it is not worth them sending any money to me for. So, yay! The bad news just kept on coming. Also, I had a gaming chair. I had to replace it because I'm having to send it back off because the thing that the wheels are connected to on the bottom, one of those broke and I couldn't sit on it comfortably for long without falling over. That thing is supposed to be rated to carry somebody up to 400 pounds. I am not that. I am very much
No.
not 400 pounds. I'm fat. I ain't that fat. Like,
Look, he's not a WoW player, guys.
Jesus Christ.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't have a gluten
Literally.
bucket.
Yeah. I'm only 221 on a bad day, so yeah, I'm not
bad.
anywhere near that bad rating thing. So yeah. We're going to be jumping back into books. I need distractions. I was going through mad anger and depression over the last 2 weeks. So, not a good time to be around
Understandable.
me. Cheap
I hope it gets
quality
better for you,
material
man.
in that chair, huh? Yeah. Well, the good news is I can. Tomorrow we're packing it up and sending it back, and they're gonna send me a new one. And
Good.
if
Better
that
do
new
it for
chair,
free.
if that new chair does not meet specs, I'm just gonna be like, all right, I'm sending it back. Refund me now.
Mm.
Well, I was going to say
NAO.
you could, get some doctors, get some lawyers. You said that shoulder started hurting, after you fell from the chair, right?
Um.
I have
Yes.
documented witnesses right here on that whole thing, and now the entire internet just heard that. So, hey, chair company, pay
Yes.
up.
Come on.
You
Give
didn't
that
save my
tasty,
life.
tasty
You ruined
pennies
my
in your
death.
pocket.
That's what you did.
We don't have the premium package, so we're fucked.
Damn it.
Speaking of premium packages,
Yeah.
no, not in that way. Somebody who wishes that they had the premium package on their life insurance was David's mom in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. If you've seen the first episode of that series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Cyberpunk
That's
is
a
what
good show.
happens. Cyberpunk is what happens when corporations have control of everything. So while all these people are sitting there and shouting about how they don't want big government, let me tell you, big corporation, not any better. In fact,
Even
probably
worse.
worse. Way
Yeah.
worse. You should be
Yeah.
you should be pushing for more regulation on these companies and breaking them up
Yes.
before
Please.
it just turns out where you have to pay for everything. At least when you're like, oh, the government, I was like, look, the government at least pays a lot of it for you. Corporations, they'll just make you pay all of it.
Up the
So-
ass.
So
And
maybe
even stuff you don't need to pay for.
and all those people crying about anarchy, shut the fuck up. You benefit off the system more than anybody. So
I always find posts like that on like Facebook, and it's like, bro, you're on Facebook. Saying,
they're
yeah,
like
anarchy.
They're like anarchy, and I'm like, motherfucker, you're on welfare and Section 8. Shut the fuck up.
I was
If
like,
it wasn't,
bro,
if you wanted
where we are.
anarchy, you'd be on the street. Shut up.
you know where we are. You're in the jungle, baby.
So we're getting into the meat of volume 8 now. We're gonna be doing chapter 2.
The
Why
schmeat,
is
yeah.
I hope it's pork.
I hate you.
I hope so too.
Okay, I'm turning
do
this
love
off 'cause
pork.
I'm way brighter than I should be. I'm not ready for this. Okay, I'm
Like
still
disposition-wise?
really bright.
Mm.
I'm thinking maybe I should just turn.
Bless you.
Flush,
Bless you
flush
again.
again.
There's gonna be a lot of these
And a
if you
third time.
guys keep going, man. I'm telling you. Let me turn this light off. Jesus. Okay, that's at least something. Now I'm not pasty. I'm just not good.
Mhm.
I'm not well lit either. All right, that's moderately better. I don't know why it is that you guys have such clear looking video quality and I'm the one that has like the little grainy film grain-esque style video
I actually have
quality.
no idea how.
I'm just
Might be
using
my
a
bad,
Logitech
but-
camera. That's
That's
it.
what I'm using.
Yeah, I'm just using my built-in laptop cam, and it looks okay. I do have a cooling fan thing underneath, which helps out a lot though, because my.
But I'm
computer's old.
saying I'm just using like I don't know why I'm getting like this grainy effect.
I don't know. Maybe
terrible.
it could be Discord too.
How old is the camera?
Oh,
No, it's not just Discord. Oh, it's pretty old.
That could be why.
Yeah.
Mine was bought within the recent 2
It's
years.
like 720p, and I'm like, that's kind of HD. I should get like a proper camera setup. Like, there's a lot of things I need to do for a better setup. Vote everyone if you're 18.
but it works.
Please make sure you're registered. What? Dexter? Oh,
I mean, it is true.
yes.
vote,
yeah.
Vote for anarchy. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Let those fuckers know what they're missing. Yeah. Once
be one of the
real
14,000
anarchy hits,
people.
once real anarchy hits,
Mhm.
they're like, I didn't ask for this. And I was like, yes, you did.
You wanted anarchy, didn't you?
You didn't know what you were asking for.
They very rarely do.
Yep.
All right. So we're getting into chapter 2. This is where I love that the name of this chapter is called The Invitees. But we're going to jump right into it. I'm not going to be spinning a wheel this time, as fun as that is.
Well, also Sonic's not here, so
No, actually, it works
Probably won't
better
be
to.
that
It actually
wheel.
works better if we do just go ahead and spin the wheel. But
Oh,
I
and
don't wanna.
spin. Gotcha.
I just don't wanna. That's the real answer. By the way, not sponsored, but Yoo-Hoo is delicious.
Chip.
So, and if you don't agree,
I've never
with
had
me-
it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's chocolate
How
milk,
have you
bro.
never had a
I do
Yoo-Hoo?
like chocolate milk. I've had a Milo, but not a Yoo-Hoo. Is it about the same?
I don't know.
I don't know. What's a Milo?
Milo is like or Milo or whatever is like the chocolate drink. It's like in a can instead of a bottle. It's like
I would have.
Mexican chocolate milk, basically. I'm probably grossly understating that,
It's
but
probably similar.
it's made by Nestle.
It's okay.
so
It's okay.
fine.
Don't come after him, guys. He meant Hispanic,
Yeah, my bad.
not specifically
Sorry,
Mexican.
I usually get it at like the Hispanic grocery stores, so it's like Milo.
All right.
Mm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Hmm.
We're going to get started on chapter 2, but before we can do that, a quick word from our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen of the congregation, this episode of the Slime Abridged / Reading of the Light Novels is brought to you by Slime Light Novels. Make sure and go out and get yourself a copy of Volume 8 to read along with us right now.
I love the Slime Light novels. They've changed my life forever.
Haven't they?
I've regained all my hair because of them.
My erectile dysfunction is long gone.
Thank you, Slime Light
Now,
novels.
Thank you,
stop
Slime Light Novels.
It's lasted way more than 6 hours. Help.
Truthfully, it is a bit concerning, and I do need to go to the emergency room.
Oh.
All right, that
At
was
least you have
enough to
something
make.
to read.
All right, that was enough time for you to go out and purchase the best decision you've ever made in your entire life. And yes, I am including your marriage to your significant other and any potential children you may have. This is the better decision. Just remember, look, sex is fine, but it goes away after about like 15 minutes. Slime Light Novels take hours.
Days even.
Days even.
Yep.
We need to cut that as an actual promo. Please, somebody have clipped that.
That would be amazing.
Oh my god. Someone please clip that and send that to me so I can send that to Tony. Just be like, can we do this? Can we do this from now on? Just blanketly endorse Slime Light Novels.
Oh.
I used to have an IQ of 2. Then I started reading one word at a time of Slime Light Novels. Now I can finish a book in just a day. And my
Thanks,
IQ
Slime
is 160. Thanks, Slime Light Novels.
If you're wanting to try Slime Light novels, be aware that there are side effects. The side effects include having an interesting time, having a fun time reading, enjoying what you're thinking about when you're reading.
Big
and
O anime
many,
titties.
many more.
Big O anime titties.
And
If I had a whole script, I could go on forever.
I could
really
write.
hard to
I
just
could.
do that
I
off
could
the cuff.
actually do that. If you guys want to take a time from week to week to do a Slime Light Novel sponsorship, I could
would
do
so
that.
do that.
Okay. I was not ready
That
for
would be
this
so much
today.
fun.
Yeah. So yeah, now that we've done the first part, ladies and gentlemen of the congregation, open your books to chapter 2. That's literally where we are. We don't have particular pages at the moment, so just
Fuck numbers. We're
Chapter
on 2.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We only
We
count to 2. Wait,
Wait, what do you
that
mean there's more than
contradicts-
2 chapters?
That contradicts everything I just said about my IQ going up from Slime Light Novels. Sorry,
No, no.
Slime Light Novels.
It went up from 2 to 3.
Yes. 1 and 1 make 2, 2 and 1 make 3. It was destiny.
And 3 and 3 makes 8.
What kind of weird ass math are you talking about? 1 and 1 is 1 on a bun, and 2 plus 2 equals fish.
No, that
Yeah.
was that's a Tenacious D song.
I know.
Look into my eyes and it's
You
easy to see.
see, 1 and 1 make
1
2,
and 1
2
make
and 1
2,
make
2 and 1
3.
makes 3. It's your destiny.
Once every 100,000 years or so.
Years or so.
Oh yeah.
The sun don't shine in the
Guys,
moon, the
guys,
grass.
guys. This is not the greatest song in the world.
This is just a
This is just a
tribute.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's actually get started. Wheel of morality. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should. It's going to be Shem.
Okay.
Yep.
You got it.
It's going to be Shem.
I wanted to be one of those guys when I was younger.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we did too. I at least wanted to
Yeah.
get all the adoring girls that those guys had when I was younger.
mhm.
Yeah.
Chapter 2.
That's what
The
it really was. I
Invitee.
wanted this sexual attention that they were getting from their female fan base.
Yeah, it's fair.
But I gotta tell you, man,
Mm.
it's a sad life. These chicks don't even know the name of my band. But they're all on me like they wanna hold
They want to
hands.
hold hands.
'Cause once I play, they know that
Yep.
I'll be them.
Man, yep.
Oh, Sonic's in chat.
Hi.
Yeah, he said it was going to be a little late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Somebody redeemed Gottfried right off the bat. Nice.
God
Okay.
damn. All right, let's get started.
Good. You could try hiding it all you wanted, but it was doomed to spread
You gotta squint your
in
eyes.
short order. What?
You got to squint your eyes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's a Godfrey
In
thing.
short
Yeah.
order, the rumors
short
had
order,
reached
yeah.
the ear.
The
It actually helps out.
aristocrats, right?
It does help a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
The rumors had reached the ears of leaders in the nations surrounding the forest of Jura. Hinata, the saint, was defeated by Rimuru, the demon lord. The news came across. I'm trying to squint my eyes, but also read. It's kind of hard to do it. The news came
you
across
already did a
several
paragraph. You
routes.
can stop.
Oh, that was. I like that voice though. News came across several routes, delivered with careful precision, ensuring it would reach the people it was intended for. It sounded so eminently plausible, and of course, someone was behind its spreading. But in another moment, the word had traveled so far that nobody would ever know who. No matter how secret the Crusaders' invasion was, there was no way to keep everyone in the dark forever. The reason was obvious. Tempest was now the center of attention, and to the nations that had relations with it, they had to be constantly vigilant about intelligence collection. The Crusaders' deployment to Tempest was an open secret by this point, and that helped make this new rumor seem even more believable. And this news was interpreted in many different ways by many different people. Some feared the Demon Lord Rimuru, some angrily dismissed Hinata as a feckless fraud. Others proceeded with caution, trying to decide how best to keep their homeland safe. But along with these flowing rumors, news was also coming from official sources. Hinata, the saint, and Rimuru, the demon lord, fought to a draw. The result of this, a truce between Libelius and the Jura Tempest Federation, along with the signing of a non-aggression treaty. Things were getting complicated, and that wasn't the only problem giving world leaders headaches. Those very same leaders were receiving invitations from Rimuru himself, the demon lord at the core of this crisis. None of these nations were about to accept the Council of the West's official announcement as the whole story. It would turn all common sense on its head and alter the fabric of the world itself. Every leader could smell it in the air, and even if they lacked the whole story, they knew that the Paladins had suffered no casualties. That told them everything they needed to make a decision. And in the midst of all these wild, twisting motives, the Western nations were about to experience earth-shattering change.
Alrighty, and now,
Mhm.
Moon, take it away.
Oh! In a corner of the Dwarven Kingdom, the armed nation of Dwargon, a group of ministers and top officials, had settled down into a meeting. Ah, now he's done it, the dignified voice of Gazel Dwargo, the heroic king of the land of dwarves, rumbled through the chamber. Oh, let me reread that. Ah, now he's done it!
Good.
The kingdom's dark agents, their network of spies, had been busy lately. Intelligence was flowing like a torrent, and their agents had to spend sleepless nights analyzing it all,
Oh, that's
deciphering recorded images.
I burped.
Huh?
Sorry, it felt really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad we know this.
Yeah.
And crafting dossiers
Very
from
important
the
information.
finely mined details. Multiple copies of
Doesn't
these
it
reports
suck when
were
I
written
interrupt you?
out for the ministers, and with all the data involved,
It is
the
so
number
much
of
fun.
pages in each one stacked upward and upward. It was grueling work, but it was still better than the situation of fuck.
And now he knows how it feels.
A few months ago,
The
back when
situation
that
of fuck?
slime Rimuru became, yep, the situation of fuck.
Yep.
I guess I'll take my pants
I like
off.
being in those situations. So.
I guess it's
Oh, yeah.
Shem. We gotta take our pants off. It's the situation of fuck.
All right, finally. We're gonna
Oh,
get
no!
banned on stream. Nice. Yeah.
God.
I've been
Nobody
waiting
needs
for
to-
this.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I pull my pants down. Everybody's gonna go blind.
Here, I got some pants right
That's
here.
something I don't
Like-
want to see.
we
Like
already
I
took it
am
off.
way too white.
Back when that slime
Like, I am
Rimuru became a
shockingly
demon
Caucasian.
lord and immediately pivoted into a duel with Clayman. The Dark Agents, the agency behind them, and Gazel and his officials, they had all suffered terribly from a lack of sleep. Compared with those days, this was a walk in the park. I find it hard to believe, but I must. No, but believe it, I must. I can't read today. It would appear your sparring partner has defeated the Saint.
I mean,
You are... Yeah. You are being disrespectful, Vaughn, chided Dolph, the hard-headed captain of the Pegasus Knights. This is a public meeting hall, not your personal chamber. Remember where you speak.
You're making
Von
him sound too much like a bookworm. This dude's a knight.
This is a public meeting hall, not your personal chamber.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember where you speak. Vaughn
Properly,
shrugged
orderly
and...
by the rules kind of soldier-esque dude.
Yeah.
If that helps.
I'm like really terrible with names, so unless it's fresh in my head, I'm going to forget who the character is.
That's
So,
fair. There
You're gonna
are
have
a
to
lot
work
of
with me
names
on
in this,
that.
though.
No, I don't.
ton
I
of
don't have
fucking
to work
names.
with you on anything.
Well, be that way then.
I will.
That's so mean. Vaughn shrugged and gave him a languid nod before turning a more vengeful eye toward the ministers and coughing once.
Boom. That was
Do
almost
not
in sync.
Yeah. Do not berate him too much, Dolph, King Gazel said. I am as surprised by this as anyone. I am sure Vaughn couldn't help but laugh. The assembled members had no choice but to accept this. The news had shocked them all. Now was no time to go on about Vaughn's lack of decorum. The reports in their hands laid out all the details behind recent events, and it was a roller coaster of read from start to finish. Of a read. Over 100 crusaders, the strongest force among humankind, had staged a clandestine violent assault on the nation of monsters. Even Henrietta's dark agents, the pride of Gazel, had only picked up the news the other day, or really only found out once battle began. And if the dark agents knew, there was no doubting every other nation's secret service did. Tempest, after all, was crawling with spies. Rimuru seemed to be aware of them, but essentially left them be. Perhaps to better advertise his moves. Once full-bore combat began, even the most amateur intelligence organization would know what was going on. In the end, the Crusaders lost. The Demon Lord Rimuru had won, and without killing a single one of them. The Dark Agents, sadly, failed to witness the battle for themselves, but that was the report they gave. But Your Majesty, Henrietta said, I saw it happen myself. As she explained, she was around to see the fight eventually devolve into a one-on-one duel between Hinata and Rimuru. However, due to an onrush of out-of-control magicules, the Dark Agents were blocked from magically eavesdropping on the event. We also detected a powerful aura surrounding the area, and we believe that was the cause of this. So someone triggered a magicule storm, powerful enough to block all monitoring magic. It was not a magicule storm, Lady Jane. So much as a clash of opposed energy waves triggering a jamming signal. Shit, was that another chick? Fuck.
It's okay.
Too many things. Mused Jane, the elderly archwizard of the kingdom. Oh. So you didn't see how this duel ended yourselves? Why are you so sure Hinata lost? Hinata, all-powerful, head of the Crusaders, required no introduction to Jane. She had personal insights into the Saint's strength, and she found it hard to believe Hinata tasted defeat. I can only offer circumstantial evidence in my defense, replied Henrietta. But after centuries of refusing to side with monsters, the Western Holy Church has overturned its own doctrine. They've even sent us word about opening official connections with us, the dwarves. The nation of Lubelius is also moving to establish relations with Tempest. Word of this has been sent to governments worldwide, and we are now awaiting the official proclamation. These are drastic changes, and I believe they offer the clearest evidence yet that Hinata was defeated. Certainly, if those human supremacist blockheads had so quickly changed their tune like that, I suppose it means something must have forced their hand. But, King Gazel, you know this means there's a greater chance than ever that the Demon Lord Rimuru has grown more powerful than you, do you not? Jane seemed to find even asking the question painful. Hinata, the Saint, and Gazel, the Master of the Sword, were an even match whether Gazel wanted to admit it or not. If Hinata just lost, simple logic dictated that Rimuru now outclassed Gazel. Ridiculous! How dare you insult his Majesty, Lady Jane? The ministers howled at Jane, but she refused to budge. As far as she was concerned, the truth was the truth, and Gazel agreed. That much growth in the space of a few months, Vaughn casually asked. The question was greeted by a snort from the king. It's no longer a matter of growth, my good man, he thought. Even the last time they met, something about the Demon Lord Rimuru seemed strange. This wasn't some gushing geyser of pure force in front of him. Everything was calm. He couldn't feel a thing. Gazel's own power, the unique skill Tyrant, which let him see through everything, even other people's thoughts, gave him no insight at all into the creature. It meant Rimuru was able to completely restrain his force. Maybe he didn't know everything about the outcome of the duel, but Hinata surviving the ordeal was an achievement in itself.
It is likely so, he said, considering this. The evolution into Demon Lord means his powers now rival mine. Him defeating Hinata wouldn't be unusual at all.
But, Your Majesty, you, the hero of generations, on an even keel with a monster born but a few years ago.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Surely my liege must be mistaken. And even if it is so, wouldn't that make the Demon Lord Rimuru far too dangerous? The ministers were uproarious once more. Gazelle sighed to himself. If that was how the logic went, Rimuru was far from the only threat. He looked down at his dossier. In it, the Dark Agents described how the officers under Rimuru fought against the 10 Great Saints. And according to their report, not one of the monsters fell. Each one scored a complete victory, some of them even overwhelming several saints at once. It was amazing news, and if it could be believed, there was no denying that Tempest's overall ability to wage war surpassed Dwargon's. The magically recorded video evidence from the battle was hazy, at best, making it hard to discern such much detail. That was a shame, given how these devices were the height of dwarven technology, but with the unstable magicules in the air, they failed to function properly. Only the visual images survived. The audio failed to be recorded, and the quality of this imagery made it impossible to analyze the subject's abilities. You could barely make out what was happening, as valuable an asset as this evidence was. Still, Gazelle could make out a few familiar figures in the images, the magic-born he had spoken with before.
They've grown stronger. Our full force may not be enough to defeat them now.
Some of the ministers were prattling on about the potential danger, others loudly disagreeing with them. They were both correct, most likely. Gazelle tuned out the noise, pondering to himself. Maybe he began to think he should have wiped him out before he became this much of a threat. No, Rimuru was a monster with reason. He hoped for amicable relations with human countries. The town he built, the people he saved, the nations he'd connected with, were all ample proof of that. If Rimuru was the unthinking brute who couldn't empathize with people, humankind would be exposed to unprecedented threats right now.
But there's no need to worry about that. He wouldn't ever think about wiping out humankind, not Rimuru.
Gazelle was convinced of it. Rimuru killed the Demon Lord Clayman. He did not kill Hinata. That alone indicated to Gazelle that Rimuru went out of his way to avoid antagonizing humankind. It was easy for him to drone out the minister's concerns with laughter.
No need to worry. I will remind you that Rimuru remains my erstwhile partner in the martial arts. It would also behoove you to remember that we have backed the nation of Tempest earlier than any other nation. From him, we have earned the most trust he has given anyone. Do you intend to do away with the trust and doubt his intentions?
He glared at his ministers, using some of his majesty to cow them into submission. It did the trick, restoring them to civility. Yes, think of it that way, and it would be foolish to abandon our trade with them.
Quite! The goods we take from them have immeasurable appeal. And we've even transferred recovery potion manufacturing to them.
Whether in the form of technology exchange or anything else, a relationship must be based on trust. Why is there any need for us to panic? Yes, no need to worry at this point. They glanced at each other and smiled somewhat sheepishly. Gazelle grinned at them. To the Dwarven Kingdom, which valued fairness as a core tenet, being a demon lord was no reason for discrimination. All the ministers seemed to remember that now, and Gazelle was glad to see it. Yes, Rimuru had obtained astonishing strength, but looking back at past events, there was no doubting his trustworthiness as a person. They were still building a friendly relationship. Keeping that going was the obvious choice. Besides, Rimuru said he was an otherworlder, bringing with him knowledge of other planets and the drive to bring it to life with his vast litany of skills. The fact that he was pushing all this development forward mainly to satisfy his own self-centered cravings for luxury was nothing short of fascinating. Plus, his followers always carried out his orders with a smile, no matter how outlandish. Tempest and the Dwarven Kingdom were already connected with a highway, winding its way over mountains and through valleys and providing safe passage for anyone who used it. Rimuru's monsters blazed that trail, and all it took was an idea and a simple word or two from him. Things that other worlders of the past abandoned as being too costly or labor-intensive were no obstacle to Rimuru. He had the core strength needed to brute force it all to life. He had a drive backed by an army of loyal monsters.
How envious I am.
Gazelle mused. No matter how difficult the problem, Rimuru could just offhandedly say, "Figure it out. Good luck," and his monsters would do their level best. They all assumed that was normal. None doubted him. Maybe it was the slime's most fearsome asset of all, that genius-level ability to trick people into doing his bidding. For better or for worse, this demon lord was an entertaining one.
And perhaps he's been tricking me, too, this whole time.
But Gazelle reasoned that that was just fine. If Rimuru was pursuing the kind of world he saw as ideal, what would result from that? Gazelle was keenly interested in finding out. He wanted to see it. It'd trigger a Tima war, a struggle between mortals and angels, and Rimuru knew that. But he'd probably just fight back. Tempest had a terrifying military force backing it up, perhaps terrifying enough to fend off a horde of angels, and Gazelle was willing to cheer him on. The Demon Lord Rimuru and I may not be related by blood, but we are brothers, he growled, his voice dominating the meeting hall.
As long as he does not lose his heart for humanity, let us provide him with as much support as we can, and let us welcome a new era and the budding of a new civilization. If anyone objects to this, let them speak now.
That was, in effect, the king of the dwarves announcing his decision. Vaughn, the Admiral Paladin, and the Force smiled.
You've got me on your side, King Gazelle. You're the boss.
My lord, stated the Knight Assassin, Henrietta, I'm not rereading. I will always serve as your shadow and follow every whim of your heart.
Yes, do what you like. Yes, do what you like. I am old, with little time left to live. But if my last few years may be happy ones, I will follow you as far as you may go, my lord.
Jane still looked pretty healthy, despite her words. This was just her way of saying that Gazelle enjoyed her support no matter what happened. Finally, Dolph, leader of the Pegasus Knights, sighed and shook his head.
If that's what you all have to say, I suppose I'll have to clean up the mess that results. You'll need someone to keep him in check, won't you?
That was his role, most of the time, and Dolph didn't resent it. The heroes of dwarfdom were in unison, and a new policy was forged. But while nobody would defy their supreme leader's decision on the surface, some of the ministers were still of different minds. They would nonetheless offer their support, hiding their own intentions under the protective front of the administrator's decisions. There was just one reason for that. As part of a nation leading the world in technology, something about budding new civilizations struck a chord with them. Toiling away at their research, making only piecemeal advances. Hold on.
I know that feel.
Offered no hope of... Do what?
I said I know that feel.
Yeah. Offered no hope of major developments. This demon lord, meanwhile, was pushing the envelope and demonstrating zero fear of anyone stopping him. Vester, their former colleague, reported as much to them, and some in the room had started to envy the freedom that man enjoyed.
How dare Sir Vester just leave and join that band? Unforgivable!
Yes! Did you hear about the new barriers built on the highways to ward off monsters? And the lightning, too. I hear of new communication devices under development as well. Potions weren't enough for him, were they? I can't believe how how outraged I am.
Jealous. 100% jealous.
Absolutely.
Or well, might as well.
Oh,
it was starting...
Really quickly, Moon, did you finish those last 2 episodes of Edge Runners?
No, not yet.
Okay, when you do,
I need to.
let me know. We will schedule a time to talk about it. Because I know that you, Fenris, and I have all said we want to record a discussion about it and be like, oh my god, this is the spoiler review. Deal with it.
That would be a lot of fun. I would like that, yes. It was starting to become clear where the minister's hearts and minds truly were. Gazelle snickered, then cleared his throat. A signal for everyone to stay quiet. The minister's eyes focused on him.
Our conclusion is clear. Our nation must trust in the Demon Lord Rimuru and walk forward in unison with him. Let us receive the fruits of their labor, keeping the technology they developed for ourselves. Thus, if they ever are defeated by the Heavenly Army, that technology will never be lost. Such is the will of the armed nation of Dwargon.
Nobody was ever going to complain about that. King Gazel always prioritized his own nation above all else. The ministers bowed their heads at once, expressing their agreement. Who's saying this?
Vaughn?
Okay.
Vaughn.
Vaughn? Okay. Not letting go of the goods, huh? I appreciate how you aren't couching it in rosy vocabulary, at least. Vaughn was speaking, or muttering, really for most of the people in the hall. It wasn't long before the conference ended, with the final item on the itinerary, the acceptance of Lubelius's request, treated almost as an afterthought. Now the bureaucracy would go to work, drafting up new treaties with both Lubelius and Tempest. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the three of them, plus the rest of the Western nations, would all need to prepare together for the Timma War. There was no way of telling yet whether this was the right move, but at very least, Gazel was content.
All right, Shim, you're taking over.
All right. Once things settled down a bit, one minister raises. Oh, got Gottfried again. Your
Gottfried.
Majesty. Yeah. Your Majesty. A word. Gazel, preparing to leave the chamber, settled back in his seat and eyed him. My liege, we have suffered a letter, or received, suffered. We have received
suffered.
a letter. Yes.
I
we
know all
suffered
my
a
suffered
letter.
invitations to things are suffering. Social gatherings.
We've suffered
that's
enough
suffering.
Gottfried today.
Aha, Gazel Stronov.
Gazel
Trapped by social
Stronov.
convention. Yeah. Trapped by social convention. Oh, it was aimed for. Oh, you missed the moon. It's okay. When you try to aim a shot at the moon, you tend to miss. So,
Unless you pull down your pants.
because moon means.
Hold on.
Ooh. No. No.
Yes, moon them.
Ah!
Oh god, he was gonna do it.
It is your
He was on his
destiny.
way.
No.
Surely you jest. I never
Okay.
jest, and don't call me Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
He was trying to be cheeky.
Cheeky son of a bitch. All right, moving
Anyway.
on. Continuing.
Yep. My
That-
liege.
that joke
we
was
received a
ass.
letter. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Okay,
Damn
what
it.
a
My
shitty
liege.
interruption.
Sorry, I'm just.
Are you gonna start speaking in Splatoonese?
That'd be an easy paragraph
do
to,
that so well.
to read it.
That's the entire page.
I
right
love
there.
Splatoon. Of course I did it well.
It's the entire page.
Literally,
I love
I
it.
bet that's what the voice actors are actually doing in the booth. They're just
No filter, nothing.
Could you imagine trying to sing like that?
I mean, how do you think they've done the music for the battles?
anyway.
I thought it was just a
Oh,
filter, but
Ari
anyway.
actually wants to see my butt. All right.
Oh, okay,
Jesus.
just do it after stream. We'll
Wait
get
till
demonetized.
AWA.
You don't get monetized anyway.
Jesus.
then you can have a real close look at it.
Yeah. It'll even show you the hole.
No, that's extra.
Well,
No whole shots.
no
Yep.
hole shot.
You only-
That's on
You
Patreon.
only get half-ass. You only get half-ass ass shots. That's it. That's all you get.
Look, I
to
never
the
half-assed
book.
my ass shot.
Back to the book.
Okay. Anyway,
Oh
my
goodness.
liege, we received a letter of invitation from Sir Riegard. It seems that Sir Rimuru is holding an event to officially mark his debut as Demon Lord, and he seeks your attendance. His debut? What could that be about? The minister was just as in the dark as Gazel. He blinked helplessly a couple times, giving the other ministers enough time to raise yet another hue and cry. Just a front, I'm sure. He no doubt bids you to be present so he can boast to the world about how friendly we are with him. I think that boat has... Oh no, that was supposed to be Gazel. I think that boat has long left ports, good sir. Ah, wait, I have heard of this. Vesta has sent a word that the Monster Nation wishes to hold a grand festival to shore up its public image. He himself is serving as an advisor to their administration, and they're preparing quite a number of festivities for the occasion. Vaughn gauged the ministers, a thoughtful look in his eyes. How interesting. I do recall how wonderful their accommodations were. I was allowed to bask in the hot spring, the food was excellent, and the conduct of their servants impeccable. I knew Vesta was training them, but plainly he did his job well. And I can imagine how grandiose these festivities might be. He certainly sounded enthusiastic about it to Gazel. If the king turned down the invite, Bond seemed likely to go in his stead. That sly fox. I don't know what's motivating him, but he just doesn't know how to settle down and lie back, does he? Gazel thought the Demon Lord's aim was to gain the confidence of the Western nations, but this new act seemed to defy explanation. That's what made it so interesting to him. He found it quite difficult to stifle the laughter coming up his throat. Maintaining decorum around his ministers was such a stress at times. Curse you. Setting just the sort of trap that would torment me the most. Relentless. The irrational anger was enough to kill Gazel's urge to laugh. What is your bidding, my liege? A minister ventured to ask the Silent King. Sir Regard sends word that, while attending may pose some difficulty for you, if you are able to grace them with your presence, they will provide your treatment truly befitting a king. Similar invitations have apparently been sent to leaders around the world, and there are only a limited number of seats available. He also wanted us to reply as quickly as possible, as Tempest will be crowded on the dates of the event. He has to pre-order his spot.
Yeah.
Get a ticket early.
You gotta get that
Prevent
VIP
Yeah,
access.
pretty much.
Do you think there are
You
scalpers
gotta
in this
reserve your
universe?
seat early.
There will be
There are
soon.
scalpers in this
Hey,
fucking
hey,
universe.
if there aren't yet,
Uh,
there will be soon.
yeah.
Because this is
Fuck
the debut
scalpers.
event. Once people know what they're missing and word spreads,
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Scalpers make money. Oh
Go
yeah.
visit the
Anyway,
land of
Yeah.
Rimuru.
Oh yeah.
Only 500 gold.
that's a lot.
That's
Jesus
a lot.
Christ.
That's a lot of fucking gold.
Anyway,
They're scalpers.
All right.
It's like
here's
what,
the thing.
50 normally?
Like, are you
Here's the-
kidding?
No, dude, it's 500 gold for that. No, that's not even. No, that's not worth paying. Nobody would pay that.
no. Especially
What
how
about
expensive-
50?
50 is probably pretty high too. I would say
Yeah.
10 gold.
It'd be more like
You got to realize
10
people
or-
don't
10 gold?
carry
Okay.
people don't carry a lot of gold on them. The common masses don't carry a lot of gold.
silver.
Well,
or
I'm just trying to
bronze-ish.
think of how much it would be converted to USD or whatever.
Oh well.
Isn't it like 100 silver
Like one
pieces?
gold
is
to
one
like.
gold? Or am I wrong? I can't remember
10
the
silver
convert-
pieces is gold.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But still.
Anyway.
Anyway,
So okay, so let's see.
yeah. I don't know how many bronze equals a silver, so
There
I would assume
is.
10 also.
It's essential. It's
so-
essentially this, guys. There's a lot
Mhm.
of back deal stuff that's going on that Rimuru's gonna get involved in, some behind the scenes stuff to prep for the festival, and that's gonna be a lot of what's happening in this book. And you're gonna be like looking at that, going, "Nice, I see what you're doing. That's kind of cool." So we're watching the setup for it happen. So guys, you remember we had that world building action. We're back to the world building, baby. Which
Yay!
honestly is one of my favorite things about this series.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
How many
fascinating.
episodes
so,
do you think this would be, though?
One
Like,
or two.
this
many
has to
as
be
it
like
could
an
be.
episode. I
Depends
think.
on how much content that they skip.
Mm-hmm.
It could be
They
one
probably-
Yeah,
episode. if they,
I feel like it'd have to be at
They
least.
better
an
not
episode,
skip
and
the
then
baths.
Maybe two.
the baths.
Better not skip
They
the
will
baths.
not-
No,
You
no.
know-
No. That's before this.
Literally,
There's no way they're skipping
literally. Have you seen the OVA where they go to the lake and then are attacked by like some kind of slimy tentacle monster and they're all naked? They're not
That's
going to
an
skip the
OVA.
baths.
I forgot
that's an
about
OVA.
that.
Yeah, they're not. They're not.
There's literally an episode titled "Hey Butts." They're not going to skip
Yeah,
a fan
like-
service.
Yeah, they're you're good. You're good.
Okay, good.
All right, continue
Anyway.
on. Continue
Someone
on.
in
Yeah.
the chat's gonna be like, "Does someone see butts? Moon, get on that."
Yeah, literally, the world building is what got me into this series too.
Fair.
All right, let's go. Keep
It's-
going.
Yeah. It sounded polite enough, but it was no way to talk to the ruler of a great, powerful nation. The minister knew as much, fearing how his lord would respond as he spoke, but it was nothing that fazed Gazel. If anything, it perplexed him that anyone thought it would. His tyrant's skill made it easy for him to read the minds of his ministers, so he smiled a bit as he attempted to correct them. Let us accept the invitation, then. I look forward to touring Tempest anew. My liege, no matter how friendly Sir Rimuru is with you, I seriously question the validity of this event. We do not know what manner of entertainment there might be, but surely they could prepare a seat for you any time they wanted. Indeed. And they did not specify how long the invite list was. But do they think the world's great leaders have all the time in the world on their hands? No. They will not accept such a sudden request so readily. And your majesty personally... What?
Funny. I just laughed.
Funny.
That's all.
I feel like
They
I
won't
feel like
accept a
we're gonna get to
request
a
from
point where
Rimuru
it's
so
like-
easily, and I'm like, ha.
comes the squires like, my liege, we have we've just heard of 7 kings accepting the invite already.
No, it's more like the royals won't go, they'll send someone else in their stead, and then when word comes back of how good of a time they had, the royals are gonna be pissed.
We're like, fuck.
They're like, wait,
Like,
that sounds like a fucking vacation. God damn it, I should have gone.
you guys got to go to the hot springs.
I could just imagine
Aw,
Vaughn
man.
coming back from it, just
Wait,
like, oh,
You
thank
ate
you so
what
much, guys.
kind
That
of
was a great
food?
time."
Like that kind of shit.
Wait, what do
Yeah.
you mean?
You
it
had
look like
cinnamon
10 years
rolls.
What do you mean Sir Masayuki was there? What do you mean there was a food festival?
What do you mean you had an
What do you
anime
mean there was a
marathon on Sunday?
Coliseum battle? What?
Wait. Did you
Those are
just say the
glasses.
god of Luminism?
What do you mean they murdered a mime?
I wanted to be there. I wanted to be in the splash zone.
Do you know how long I've wanted
It
to
was
kill
the
a mime?
best.
Mhm.
All right, anyway.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah.
They
And-
said what bird was there? It did what with
Okay,
a dinosaur?
stop.
Jesus Christ.
Good God. First off,
That actually caught me
you're
off
really,
guard.
really loud. And secondly, we were done with the bit and I was telling us to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your majesty personally traveling to the event presents some serious issues, if I may say so. The ministers weren't in the wrong, but Gazel paid them no mind. I am not so sure about your concerns. If anything, this move shows supreme confidence on his part. You see, my ministers, you only know of him from the time he traveled to our gates. Now, as a demon lord, he is another creature entirely. This is the Rimuru to confidently holding this event, and it will no doubt be quite a fascinating one. Besides, I am sure many of us would like to explore the internal workings of Tempest. Now that it has become a great military power, they are sending out invitations. I have no doubt that many will be accepted. Just as Vaughn said, the lodging provided is superb, and if they want to establish a guest list sooner rather than later, it must surely be so they can provide the best service possible to their visitors. Very true, Vaughn agreed. He certainly did strike a bolder image as Demon Lord. Very few people indeed could get away with treating Sir Rimuru like a fool nowadays, and I can't help but wonder what sort of festival the monsters would want to hold. Whether representing our kingdom or not, I most certainly wish to participate. Vaughn had intended to be a part of this from the moment he heard of it, perhaps expecting to ask Vesta for an invitation. Gazel certainly didn't want him to have all the fun. He knew full well the ministers would be dead set against their king's attendance, though, so he searched for a method to make them see things his way. Besides, I am Rimuru's partner in battle, and as such, I must guide him to ensure he is not being ridiculed by his own people. I must make it known to his neighbors that we of Dwargon are the first nation to make friends with Tempest.
There's a lot
Some
of
of the
fancy
ministers-
talk for somebody who just wants to go sit in the hot springs.
I know. he has
He
an
wants to be
image
first in line for everything.
He's like, bro,
Yeah.
I gotta make an excuse to my executives. I wanna go.
Yeah.
On the
This
inside,
guy-
he's just
he
like,
has
this
to-
guy,
on the inside, he's like, I wanna.
Yeah,
I-
and it's like,
I
no, we
just
should
like the
send a
idea
message.
of him,
No,
like,
I'll go.
you see that guy? You see that guy? I was his first real friend. Me.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I believed
Yeah.
him at first before
I
anyone
believed
else.
in it before you did. I believed
is
in
like
it
the
before
guy-
I
you were
believed in him
cool.
before he was a demon lord.
Like,
This is like
Yeah.
the guy in Monty Python where it's just like, just a little bit of peril. No, it's too perilous. You can't go. No, wait, I want to go. It's fine. Don't worry. I got this.
it's a little bit of peril. No, it's too
I
perilous.
mean, if you
can't
really
go.
don't want to go, man, it's fine. I can invite
Yeah.
the other person.
All right.
Yeah. Some of the ministers began to understand Gazel's true intentions. Yes. We have the closest ties of all to Sir Rimuru, and we should be sure other nations are aware of it. Agreed. I understand that those scoundrels in Thalion are attempting to butter him up now that he is a demon lord. Now would be a good time to show his majesty in close concert with Sir Rimuru. It would do wonders to keep our rivals in check. So far, so good, thought Gazel. He opened his mouth a little, preparing to conclude this debate when... I fail to see why we are even discussing this. We know full well that if we defy his majesty, he will simply slip past our borders again. Instead of that, I feel it far safer for Dwargon to provide its full support to its leader. This was the chief elder of Dwargon's Senate chiding the ministers, a man who rarely participated in public debate. At the time Gazel employed a body double to escape the kingdom undercover still grated him, apparently. Oh, brother. Well, at least I can join in the festivities now. This wasn't exactly the way Gozel meant to gain support, but it was good enough. It kind of put him off a little, but he was willing to accept it. Now the Dwarven Kingdom was 100% committed to the Tempest Invite, no matter how bewildered the ministers were by it, and with that, more and more people in the hall began expressing their desire to join in. Before long, Gozel had quite another problem. How am I ever going to pare down the list of attendants joining me? And then
On the grounds of the royal palace of Thalion.
Yeah.
All right, so now we went from the dwarves, now we're going to the elves. See how crazy this is escalating already?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the grounds of the royal palace of Thalion was a large, impressive, beautiful garden, expansive enough to house a variety of plants and creatures rare to find in the wild. This park was personally funded by the emperor, who enjoyed a vast fortune thanks to the many streams of revenue she enjoyed. A very small percentage of that income was all it took to keep this masterpiece of natural beauty going. All right. Oh, pardon me. Had to move in my chair for a second there. There we go. Beauty going. And not just the garden. Nothing in and around the palace was funded by tax revenue. That was how impossibly rich the head of the sorceress dynasty was. 2 people were currently relaxing within these gardens. One was Archduke Errol Grimwald, father of the adventurer Ellen, and one of the nation's most powerful officials. Facing him was the only person in Thalion who wielded more authority than he, Emperor Elmisia Elru Thalion herself. On paper, the emperor was of ambiguous gender with beautiful features that were only vaguely feminine. At least, that was the act she put on. In truth, Elmisia was female through and through. Her age, however, was unknown. She was among the most pure-blooded of elves, meaning her elven qualities were stronger than most. She simply didn't age. That made her a living witness to history, and asking how many years she had lived was a taboo. She looked elegant and noble, but she still hadn't lost her youth. In fact, her compact frame could cause one to mistake her for a child. Her jade-green eyes were sharp and intelligent, and her vibrant skin was like a fresh coating of snow. Her long silver hair shone as it flowed down her head, brushing past the light redness of her cheeks, and her unique pointed ears poked out from underneath. There's a picture. We're not showing it to you. But
She does have very pointy ears.
Go buy the book.
yeah, go buy the book.
Go buy the
They're
book.
super pointy. They're
Yeah.
super pointy.
Yes.
Remember, guys,
Brings
I
us to a new
I suffered from unbelievable erectile dysfunction until I got slime light novels. I almost said fat dog light novels. I'd have been like, motherfucker. All right, coming to you soon. Fat dog light novels. I guess I got to get to writing them.
God.
Rimuru or Richie stared upon his light novel.
Look, you
eager
can't
to
turn
read the next
fanfics into light novels, okay?
Yeah, I can.
Maybe.
But also, I've got an original story that's not a fan fiction.
Oh.
So shut the fuck up,
Slight
bitch.
arousal.
Slight arousal.
With slight arousal, Richie continued to read.
In short, she was the epitome of harmony and motion. Is this the weed queen? No, this is not the weed princess. The weed princess is different.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you saying she's like higher up? She's the weed emperor.
The mother.
The mother of weed. The mother of weeddom. Instead of dragging
The
these
crack
weeds.
emperor.
No, that's in the Empire. This is that's on the western side of, or no, the eastern side of Tempest. Yeah, the crack Empire is on the eastern side of Tempest. At least that's how I'm referring to them from now on. Thanks for that.
Yeah, there. You're welcome.
The Archduke found himself smitten for a moment at this beauty, but quickly regained his senses. His wife and daughter would be furious with him if he didn't. Clearing his throat, he turned to the exquisite wood-carved seat Elmisia was sitting on. Your Excellency, the nation of monsters I have reported to you has sent me an invitation. Errol took a letter out of his pocket, presenting it to her. He had already checked it for traps or hidden poisons, and he knew what it read, but he did not say it out loud. He was fully aware of how the Emperor disliked people telling her things before she could see them for herself, but he had his concerns. I truly never expected this slime would ever be recognized as a demon lord, but even if he has, why would he call someone like me to this coronation of sorts? The letter Harold presented to the Emperor was, in fact, addressed to him. There was no need to show it to Elmesia, but as the letter put it, please reply if able to attend, providing the number of participants you wish to bring. He interpreted this to mean he could bring as many +1s as he felt like, but who should join him? That was the rub. Some bodyguards would be a must, but the Archduke could hardly show up alone. Many of the nobles he had previously reported his travels to expressed keen interest in visiting for themselves. With Tempest becoming a new trade partner, courtly circles across the Sorceress dynasty were alive with talk of this new land. And the fascination was hardly exclusive to the nobility. When the Emperor received the initial report of Harold's audience with the Demon Lord Rimuru, her eyes had been cold and focused as she gave her response. So you went off to this fabulous land all by yourself? Well, weren't you fortunate, Harold? I imagine it was quite the exciting experience. And why did you leave me behind, Even naming yourself my representative and establishing ties with them, no less. If our business with them was that important, I would have liked to involve myself with it. Wouldn't you agree? She had a point, but Harold...
Acting a hint of jealousy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's a lot of what this is. It's like, motherfucker, you had a party without me? That's kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
But Harold came to Tempest on the pretense of rescuing his daughter, and what he found was a literal nation of monsters. He may have transferred his spirit into the body of a homunculus, but there was no telling what could have fallen him. There was no way he could have guaranteed Elmesia's safety if he took her there, but the Emperor gave him no quarter. If that is the charming sort of slime you met, I wish I could have seen him for myself, and meeting with a demon lord so soon after his birth... Why, I've lived for many years, and not even I have been graced with that opportunity. And look at you, hogging it all for yourself. Does the term abandonment mean anything to you? Imagine being treated this way by my own people. What a pitiful leader I am. She had continued in this vein for a bit longer before wrapping it up like so. I've never been so envious, so offended in my life. I don't think you... taking in all this risking all this danger and doing it off by yourself? It is scandalous. Yeah, no, okay, the real things are coming through.
That's not what you were saying first.
Hold on. Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Why is her text like italicized like that? Is she like communicating with him via like thought communication or
no
why?
idea. Or maybe she's just that. Maybe she's just that grandiose. Like she's so fucking above it all that all her shit is in italics. But I doubt
Anyone who's
Even her text has to be different.
Also, I'm thinking this has a
How
lot
do
to do.
you elegant?
I'm thinking that
Maybe
this
she's
has.
high.
I'm thinking this has a lot to do with the fact that she's also a flashback. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Elmesia's rebuke was really more whining than scolding. Most of her vassals only knew her unreadable mask and assumed the heart beneath was just as icy. She only showed this side of her personality to Archduke Harold and one other, although Harold took the brunt of it. If only they knew what's actually underneath, he always thought. However, thanks to the Emperor's pouting, the budget for this effort had been frozen. Their plans to share technology with Tempest delayed for the time being. Harold wanted to soothe her hurt feelings about it all so they could get the ball rolling on the tech swap again. If he decided to join the festivities solo without informing Elmesia, he'd most certainly be inviting her rage upon him. By that point, he feared, the frozen budget would be the least of his worries. This Demon Lord coronation was, in its own way, a show of force. It was devised to display Rimuru's strength as a demon lord to nations around him. They would be holding a festival in conjunction, along with assorted unspecified but large-scale entertainment. There was no way the eternally bored Elmesia would pass up an opportunity to attend such an exciting-sounding event. Harold knew she'd sniff it out, then interrogate him about not reporting it to her. The potential consequences for her wrath were beyond imagination. Thus Harold opted to hide nothing and just show her the letter. Now she lifted her head, fresh from reading it. Harold sat up straight in his chair. "So what do you intend to do with this?" Elmesia asked. "Do what, Your Excellency?" He was buying time, but Harold knew what Elmesia meant. He knew, but couldn't say it himself. If the Emperor was going to join the festivities, this was now an official state visit, and that took the entire administration to prepare for. It was too significant a thing for Harold to suggest from his own lips. He wanted to be sure anything that came from this meeting was, first and foremost, the Emperor's idea. Playing dumb, are we? Do you know, Harold, of the sweet pastries we procured from that man Yoshida's bakery? They're far tastier than they used to be, aren't they? Could you venture a guess as to why?" Errol fell silent. The change of subject was unexpected. "Or are you saying a strategic genius such as yourself is oblivious to the goings-on in the streets? What a disappointment." "I apologize, Your Excellency. By Yoshida, you refer to the baker who runs the establishment in Inglacia you enjoy so much. I believe the kingdom provides for his personal safety as an other-worlder, despite his lack of fighting skill. I was unaware that his work was distributed to Thalion, but how is that related to Sir Rimuru invitation? If you didn't know something, better to be honest and ask. Maybe you can't get away from that if you're dealing with a stranger, but Harold was intimately familiar with the Emperor. She even let him look at her unobscured face, a right granted to a tiny handful of people in Thalion. "You truly claim not to know, then? Elwyn brought some samples back several years ago as a souvenir. I suppose she didn't see fit to give you any." "She what?" The revelation that his own daughter declined to save any for him hurt harder than expected. Elmesia was clearly gratified to see this. "All right, seems your expression is all I need. Let me tell you then. Yoshida, it seems, has found a new source for his ingredients. It's allowed him to greatly expand the diversity of his wares, and the quality of his work has improved to match. In addition, in exchange for some monetary support, he's been willing to send a supply of his goods to us." Harold was aware that Kaoru Yoshida, like his fellow Otherworlders, he'd been the subject of much investigation and eventually pinpointed in the capital city of Inglacia, where he was running a cafe and sweet shop. He was said to lack any special skills, although that was unconfirmed. His talents as a pastry chef, however, were undoubtedly top of the line, enough so that he counted the Grand Master of the Free Guild as a grateful client. There were even rumors of Hinata the Saint sneaking in after closing hours to avoid attracting a crowd. Thus, Harold already knew him as a successful tradesman, but Elmesia wasn't done speaking yet. "So you know, I invited Yoshida here once. Elwyn, you see, brought along the most tremendous cake I'd ever had. I was hoping I could have him become the Empire's official dessert specialist, but he turned me down. No matter how much money I stacked on the table, Yoshida refused to come here. The way she put it, Yoshida wasn't the kind of man who was moved by money. Instead, she made do with having a small selection of souvenirs purchased for her." "Your Excellency, what are you doing?" Harold resisted shouting the thought out loud, but she still wasn't done. "Recently, Yoshida apparently sent word that he'd be closing soon. I'm not sure if he's moving or opening up another location. By losing my dessert supply during this hiatus would be a nigh unbearable blow, wouldn't it?" "Not especially, no." That's what you have to say to me. Elwyn is quite fond of that bakery, you know. If their wares remained easily obtainable, I'm sure she'd be glad to ferry my orders back here." "What?" "Oh, yes. She already comes back here for our regular tea parties." This was monumental news. Harold thought his daughter hadn't come near Thalion for years. Elmesia's revelation was a heavy blow. He already knew the 2 bodyguards assigned to her weren't exactly the most reliable agents out there, but he hadn't heard a word from this from the other observers he had hired to watch over her. He resolved to rake them over the coals about this later, but for now, he had to press Elmisia for more. This is grave news, is it not? Oh, yes, it is! But I've used... Oh.
Yeah, I think you got that reversed.
I got that reversed, I think. This is grave news, is it not? Oh, yes, it is. But I've used some of my authority and funds to obtain some rather interesting information. What is it? Well, of all the places, it turns out this baker is seriously considering a move to the nation you visited, Tempest. So tell me.
Congratulations on graduating from a Dave. Though that is basically.
Oh,
just
Easy
getting a
Voice,
participation
sub
trophy.
anniversary!
Oh,
Woo!
hey, congratulations.
Hey, thank you for the 5
Hey!
months.
Oh,
There we
minute,
go. Oh, minute.
congratulations.
Round of applause.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations! Anyway.
Congratulations. Sorry.
Get that man pastry.
So tell me, what
Yes.
were you doing over there? This actually jogged Harold's memory a bit. Every meal he had at Tempest was a delight. His daughter, Ellen, practically wept tears of joy at first sight of their dessert selection. He even recalled her jumping up and down. Shoot has perfectly recreated that new recipe, and the like. Ah, was that what she meant? Harold cried as the pieces fell into place. Elmisia sighed. Are you sure you still have all your marbles, Archduke? Harold wasn't so sure any longer. I am sorry, he apologized, and he was entirely sincere. God damn. All of this over some pastries. This is great.
Yeah.
Political power
must
plays
have been.
about cake. Come on. Only in slime can you get that shit. Everybody's like, the world revolves around food, around money. No, the world revolves around the stomach.
I'm sure there was a lot of wars started because different kinds of cake.
I,
if you know
I,
what I mean.
I thought it was about the Weed Princess from your bridge series, that it was just, whatever. But then I see this and it's like, oh, wow.
What do you
It's more
think?
than that.
Why do you think the weed is so good? Because it gives people the munchies, and then they want the food. They're in league
Yeah.
with
They want
big
the
sugar.
pastries.
I have heard that people who are high.
And now Tempest is going to be...
The weed princess is
Getting
in league
Monopoly
with
and
big
all of
sugar.
that.
Yeah, that confirmed. Yeah.
Big sugar.
My God.
Good.
And they're
I
all
heard that
moving to
food
Tempest.
tastes good. Yeah, all the good things are going there. So
Yeah,
Ah.
all right. Now he saw what the Empress was displeased about. She suspected that Harold was hoarding all the sweets
Aye.
for himself, something he never would have done, even if it was for his daughter's sake. Nothing is ever too good for your daughter, after all. Now, at least, Harold's name had been cleared. Instead, Elmisia was now busy yelling at him about being totally oblivious to everything. Harold dutifully accepted it. But, Your Excellency, how will we respond to Sir Riberu? Elmisia gave her companion a satisfied grin. Yes, well. She was acting all stately about it, but didn't seem too interested in giving an answer. It irked Harold, but he wasn't foolish enough to offer his own words. As stated, the Emperor visiting a foreign land was a national-level project. If Harold brought up the idea first, he would see himself being shouted down by criticism. People would get in his way. It'd turn into a big mess. The Sorceress Dynasty was established by the Emperor Elmisia, its sorceress sovereign, and the 13 royal families and other rulers under her gave her their total loyalty. In general, each family was responsible for governing their own fiefdoms, while the imperial court ran on the taxes they provided. None of the royal families had their own standing armies. All of that was concentrated on the empire side. The emperor was Stallion's commander-in-chief, responsible for arbitrating across fiefdoms and nations. Harold was born into one of these 13 families. His mother, Ellis Grimwald, was the matriarch who ran it. This Ellis was also the grandmother of Elmisia herself, the only other person in Harold's life he was ever forced to submit to. Harold's elder brother, the father of Elmisia, had been killed in battle with monsters. It was an event that happened both before Thalion's founding and well before Errol was even born. It made Elmesia his niece, even though she had lived far longer than him. Another reason he owed her at least some respect. Now, about the other royal families besides Ellis's. They were, to say the least, often very, very peculiar. Some holed up in their domains, refusing to take part in any imperial administration, while others took advantage of their post to actively participate in internal politics. Elmesia never made any policy statements herself, so a number of local nobles struggled to gain power for themselves instead. As Archduke, one of Errold's tasks was to keep an eye on people. That was why he had to be careful here. If this was just a pleasure trip, that was one thing, but many people would fault him for organizing a journey to a literal monster den. It would give them an excuse to strip him of his position. He personally doubted it, but some of the nobles might have even been scheming to eliminate the Emperor from the picture entirely. To keep that from happening, he knew he had to be thoroughly prepared. "Ah, you worry too much, Harold. Your Excellency? No matter what those little fish think, none could ever extract revenge against me." Elmesia was changed
Enact.
now. She looked... Oh, sorry. Enact. Sorry. And no, ever exact revenge. It doesn't say enact on my end. It says exact.
Yeah, it says exact
Yeah.
on my end. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Elmesia was changed now. She looked and felt like a ruler, an emperor with absolute power, one who never allowed rebellion even once in her life. As long-lived as she was, all the great kings and leaders of the world, even Harold himself, looked like nothing but a street gang formed of children. Harold tensed up and nervously swallowed. He could speak frankly with her thanks to sharing a bloodline, but technically speaking, she was far, far above him. He was lauded as a champion of the people himself, but Elmesia was on a whole other level. It was impossible not to be nervous around her. That demon lord. His name was Rimuru, yes? She said. We cannot let our guard down. How do you mean? She was stating the obvious. He was strong, obviously, and you couldn't discount the leadership he showed guiding the monsters. And there was never a demon lord who tried to build cooperative relations with the nations around them before, but Elmesia wasn't the one to verbalize such an obvious point, hence why Harold asked for clarification. This Rimuru, he rather easily accepted our request to build a highway to Thalion, didn't he? Yes, he asked for rights to things like tolls and customs fees, but he accepted the full construction job on his end, and that's the issue. Those rights could grant him an absolute fortune. Can't you see that looking at me, Harold? She was back to her usual casual self. Harold knew what she meant. Ah, those revenue sources? Harold, too, realized early on that Rimuru was aiming for exactly that. That was why he thought carefully before giving him those rights, but now Elmesia was giving him a supercilious chuckle. You have a lot to learn still. Long-lived species like ourselves can plan matters so we profit in the long term. You do realize that, do you not? Of course. I made my decision after judging the passage fees the Demon Lord Rimuru could charge versus the money it would take for us to build the highway. By his calculations, any tolls they'd pay would be far cheaper. Attempting to build a paved path through the forest of Jura, as monster-laden as it was, would require countless years and a massive budget. The Kusha Mountains at the forest border were ruled by the organized warlike Tengu. Working with them would be a slog, and once you were done with them, there were hundreds of other monsters and magical beasts to deal with. Even discounting them, the complex geography posed a major problem. It required tunnels dug through mountains, bridges strung across canyons, and workers who'd need round-the-clock protection the entire way. It'd be a century-long project, and while that wasn't out of the question for an empire with Thalion's resources, it was doubtful they'd ever see a return on their investment. With all that in mind, Rimuru's offer was music to Errol's ears. How naive of you, Elmesia said, shattering Erald's confidence. Certainly crafting a highway in the forest is a daunting task. It has never been tried before, because there was no benefit to it. She began guiding Erald through the issues involved. Just as he thought, there would be no profit from the project. It was rife with challenges, and there was no point in having a road through the forest anyway. But that was in the past, before the highway would have had to go all the way to the Dwarven Kingdom. Now, all it had to do was reach Tempest, the new nation in the middle of the woods. Also, there was now a purpose to the highway. Trade. Working with the dwarves could have improved Thalian's technology, but there were too many obstacles in the way to achieve that. Now with Tempest on the scene, things had changed. The Southern Demon Lord domains are ruled by Milim, alongside Carrion the Beastmaster and Frey the Sky Queen. With all the military might they boast, they are set to become dazzlingly preposterous. Beyond that, we have the... Oh, prosperous, sorry. Oh, well, considering it's Milim, preposterous seems about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Prosperous. Beyond that, we have the Western nations to the northwest and the armed nation of Dworgen to the north. This new nation, Tempest, is nestled right between them, is it not? It is, yes. Erald felt he understood what Elmesia was driving at. He still didn't see how that meant he had erred. Things change over time, after all. That land had no value up to now, but as Elmesia pointed out, it now had boundless potential. Situated at a key location between multiple forces, it was bound to become a meeting point for all their cultures, and it was destined to grow rapidly. That was what the Demon Lord Rimuru wanted, and this was why Erald deftly realized this ahead of the crowd, wanting to firm up relations with him. But building a road to this new nation, as he knew full well, was a high-cost, high-risk endeavor. I decided that instead of embarking on a project that would require military support to back it up, it was better to secure profits through payment of their usage fees. He was confident he did the right thing, but the response failed to wipe that smirk off Elmesia's face. You aren't incorrect. We haven't sustained any losses, and normally I would congratulate you on a job well done, but he is just as long-lived as us, a demon lord, remember? And if you signed an agreement with no binding time limit, you need to think much more carefully about it than that. I give you 8 points out of 10. Huh? What we should have done is lend a hand in the construction effort. We should have selected personnel and built our own teams to handle the road work. They, meanwhile, could have focused solely on security. If we gave them at least a token effort at cooperation, that would have made our fee negotiations much easier. Oh! From now until the end of time, the Demon Lord Rimuru would hold all rights to the highway. That smug little fucker! Yeah. And given their lack of cooperation at the beginning, these conditions would be frustratingly difficult to overturn. This was a demon lord. Any attempts to coerce him with force would be the height of folly. Elmesia was right, and Erald, with his single-minded focus on profits, was wrong. This is why I always accuse you of being stubborn, Erald. You may be smart enough to notice when the tides are changing, but you can't hold on to your preconceptions like this. Erald was forced to admit it. She was right. The construction work would be dangerous, but if he had considered that compromise option, the cost wouldn't have been too high to consider, and bringing in people from Thalian could have led to sharing of technological expertise, which would allow the Empire to take in Tempestian know-how for itself. It's so funny, he's like, this is a 100-year thing! It'll be done in like 3 months.
Max.
Bro, they haven't even started.
But what about the Tengus? Oh, I'll just befriend them.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I've done that with
We're
literally
good.
every
No
other
problem.
race.
Give me a week.
Or, he could marry one of his staff off to them or something,
I mean,
Or we
shit.
can name them all.
Name them. Yeah, he could do
Name
that
them
too.
all.
Yeah.
Or
Bring
one
him
of his
under
staff
wing.
could already be related to one of the Tengu. We don't know how the geopolitical infrastructure of like all these monsters works. True.
He befriends the Tengus, names them all, and they all become hot. So,
Yes,
such as the ways of slime.
Ah,
this is true.
unless
That's
they were
just the
already
way it
named.
be.
Unless they happen to have a few that are already named.
No, you can rename them.
You could overwrite their names.
Just override the name with the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
name.
because that's what happened with Gabiru. Yeah.
Gabiru
Gabiru.
Kazuma.
That's true.
Gabiru Kazuma. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about Diablo? Wasn't he also
No,
renamed the same?
no, he was not
Really?
No.
renamed.
I thought
He was
always
known as
named
he was
Diablo.
known no he was known as the primordial blanc or black.
Oh.
Primordial Noir.
Noir was his nickname. Blanc was white. Guy Crimson is red. So they were all
Red.
named after different colors, but those are not their actual names. They don't have names. Rimuru will name them. Guy, or Guy as they call him, is literally just it's the dying sound of a lot of his victims. He just took that as his name. Yeah.
That's so, I don't know. I guess Guy makes sense, but for them to go Guy
Well,
is
dude,
funnier.
They spelled it Guy.
Yeah.
They spelled it Guy,
Mhm.
and that's how I'm saying
know,
his
but-
name.
I know. I just find that funny. Guy.
Okay, anyway. This was
What have I done?
yeah. What have I done? Oh, what have I done?
There you go.
I failed to read that far into it. He could practically see Rimuru gloating in front of his face, but it was far too late to linger on the issue. So, about my response to this invitation, Elmisia's face grew sterner. Harold sat up, nodding at her. Between the sweet shop, the highway, it's clear Rimuru was well versed in human customs. There's no doubting his status as a former Otherworlder, but now he possesses the power and authority to utilize his knowledge and experience fully. Demon Lord or not, he is truly extraordinary. Grandmaster Yuki Kagarazaka and Captain Hinata Sakaguchi, both disciples of the hero Shizue Aizawa, may hold commendable clout in the Western nations, but neither is a match for Rimuru. You ain't wrong. If we want to be on good terms with him going forward, we can't afford not to attend this. We never had a choice from the beginning. That was the Emperor Elmisia's decision. Harold had no reason to disagree, although he still had his anxieties. I understand, Your Excellency. I will ensure no one impedes your participation. However, there is no guarantee your safety in that land. Or no guaranteeing your safety in that land. We must choose our attendees carefully. They knew Rimuru had engaged in armed conflict with the Crusaders not long ago. The battle, which ended overwhelmingly in Rimuru's favor, reportedly featured far fewer casualties than what the world saw in Pharmus' invasion. It showed how confident the monsters were in this fight, although some criticized the Demon Lord for going easy on his foes. For someone who knew the inside truth, it was enough to make you swear off attacking Tempest forever. But they were plenty clueless about it. But there were plenty clueless people out there looking to test their strength. This wouldn't discourage them, and Harold was concerned Tempest would see more conflict going forward, not less. It's doubtful any of it will affect Rimuru himself, but law and order may fall apart in the forest soon. We could defend ourselves, but taking our sole emperor there. Elmisia's decision was final, and it was his job to accept it. It involved a lot of hard work, but he needed to be sure they were ready for anything. Fine. Then let us deploy some Empire-affiliated forces. I'd like you to choose several from the Magus to... Oh, no. Fine, then let us deploy some Imperial-affiliated forces. I'd like you to choose several from the Magus to guard me. The Magus were a group of high-ranked military officers called the Knights of Purity, and vested with the full authority of the Emperor. They acted as her mediators, and their ranks were open to only those who could trace their bloodline far back into nobility. The Magus were hailed as the strongest force in Thalion, and yes, Harold was part of them. Now the Emperor was asking him to deploy a group who was kept a strictly guarded secret from other nations. It was a job he approached with dead seriousness. Very well. I will send out the word once the word at once. The visit to foreign lands was set in stone, and word quickly being reported across the empire. Soon, Archduke Errold would find it fiendishly difficult to get a decent night's sleep. That's pretty good. It's pretty good, pretty good. That's good. All right.
Pretty good, man.
All right. We're all right. 146 is where this chapter ends. We're at 106. In
That's
my
not
book.
bad.
Yeah.
Hey.
So
Oh, boy.
we're not far, and we've still got
Mhm.
about half an hour.
Cool.
Mhm.
So,
Keep this train going.
Shim.
I In the headquarters of a trading company in the kingdom of Bloomin, guard Molly Mile was starting to wonder if this constant stream of visitors would ever end.
Molly!
As a merchant who had Molly, yeah, it's been a while since
We're
I heard from
getting
this
Molly. Oh, buddy.
guy.
Oh, buddy. We're getting some good stuff now. Let me tell you.
hmm
All right. This is going to
As
take
a merchant
us to
who-
112.
Oh, sorry,
Not
go ahead.
bad. This is going to
Oh,
take
okay.
us to 112 for your
Okay.
stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Keep going.
As a merchant who held sway over a litany of commercial ventures, Molly Mile had a knack for accurately judging people with a single glance. Some people came to him purely in search of money, others arrived seeking new business ventures. Occasionally, he'd see nobles who had fallen on hard times approaching him with all manner of fishy-sounding offers. He was sick of dealing with them all, but sometimes he'd actually see people with real concrete money-making ventures for him. That was why he refused to leave his job to someone else. These facts were on his mind as he shooed away yet another charlatan and asked the next client to come in. This was a well-dressed man, but Molly Mile wasn't fooled. The fabric of his clothing was of decent quality, but the style was outdated. He couldn't afford a custom outfit in the latest fashion, so he was making do with last year's model. No, this man wouldn't be worth his time. He was one of those hard-luck nobles, and he had already approached Molly Mile once before, attempting to palm off random junk as pricey antiques he'd let him have for a song. Doubtlessly, he was here on another get-rich-quick scheme, but still, he was of noble blood. Molly Mile had checked into him enough to know that for a fact, so he couldn't just show him the door on sight. That sort of behavior could lead to le majesté. Is that how you say that?
Let me see.
Le majesté.
I don't see where this word is.
That sort of behavior could lead to le majesté.
Yeah, Le Majesté.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not French, so.
I'm not French.
And then,
or
yeah, not
you're
French.
also not Canadian.
yeah, I'm not either. So, and then he'd have less to worry, or he'd have to worry less about his financial ledgers and more about his life. It made the job tricky for him, to say the least. Here we go again. The two of us trying to outfox each other. So Molly Mile heard him out, and just as he thought, the story made him wish he'd hidden under the table. This man, the Viscount Kazakh was his name, was seeking a financial investment so he could use slaves to open a shop for him. The merchant saw, to be brutally frank, no chance that it would ever succeed. Employing attractive female slaves wouldn't be nearly enough to make the business work. Kazakh needed to thoroughly analyze the market, his client base, and his potential location, not to mention employee cost. Telling him all this, of course, was like explaining calculus to a pig. Huh? Why can't you decide a location for me? And you speak of employee costs. Now what sort of fool pays their slaves? The Viscount wasn't interested in hearing any of Molly Mile's objections. Payment wasn't exactly what he meant, only that slaves need food like anyone else.
It's
and clothing.
pronounced Viscount.
Oh, okay, Viscount, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Viscount.
Viscount.
No.
Okay. Gotcha. Wasn't exactly what he meant, only that slaves need food like anyone else, and clothing, and a place to sleep. Not to mention the upfront costs for them would be far from trivial. If you wanted a slave attractive enough to catch the eye of most people, the money you'd need to expend on the search could buy you a decent house. It'd be a far more effective use of funding to just hire part-time staff, much like Molly Mile did with the public fronting stores he ran in Iglesia. As he saw it, all beauties age over time, and thus it was too difficult to make back your investment on forced laborers in situations like that. If you were aiming for quick profits running a sexually themed establishment, you needed to be even more careful laying the foundations, or else your place would become a hive of disease, which again would make both Kazakh and Molly Mile criminals. The merchant sighed to himself. There was no way in his life or in this lifetime that he'd ever accept such a hazardous proposal. Yes, indeed, my good Viscount, you have a discerning eye. I must take my hat off to your wisdom. However, regarding the slaves you mention, I fear it may be difficult to procure them at this time, would it not? Human trafficking is banned in this kingdom, and even if you turn to a legal trade, I fear you may not find the quality you are looking for, you see. He tried his best to make his rejection sound as inoffensive as possible. It didn't work. Ah, well, about that. I actually have an inn. I'll tell you about it too. If you're willing to invest, but I have to keep this discreet. All I'll say for now is that there's a certain elf in the picture. The way Kazakh never missed an opportunity to put on airs rankled Molly Mile, and he had the willpower to retain his composure. A master merchant like him could never physically reveal his disdain for his customers. Anyone who did was below third rate in this trade and incapable of ever pinning down a large-scale deal. But this elf slave talk piqued Molly Mile's interest. If he was telling the truth, that was beyond a luxury commodity, and even before that, Molly Mile was a man with some influence in the underground, running a not-so-legal outfit and not afraid to engage in some dirty work now and then, or now and again, albeit no more than he knew what he could get away with. That was why he instructed his staff in this outfit to never stray past that one final line in their work, even though he knew he'd get off scot-free as their boss either way. Only Mile knew full well just how dangerous elven slaves were. An elf. Only serious, organized crime would get mixed up in that. Elves were exceptionally long-lived. Many boasted mesmerizing beauty. They were intelligent, and most of them were well-versed in magic. If an elf had been enslaved, it must have taken some extremely underhanded means. Enslaving an elven citizen of the kingdom was impossible. So did they find one hiding in the forest, or... Molly Mile had an idea of what this could be. He had heard about monster hunts, where rich people seeking exotic pets hired hunters to capture monsters in the forest. What if a demi-human had been snared by one of these hunters, and an elf no less? Quite a few nations would never let that go by without comment. The Dwarven Kingdom would immediately look into it, and the sorceress dynasty of Thalion was even ruled by an elf. If word of this got out, it'd be a huge controversy. This wasn't a small-time pickpocket or fraud. It was the kind of thing that could trigger an international standoff. If he was dealing with a noble with no qualms about sticking his hand into the fire like this, there had to be something backing him up. Something huge, fearsome, and not afraid to kill for profit. Molly Miles' nose told him that getting involved would be dangerous. His mind raced, thinking of a good excuse to turn down Kazakh's offer. He came up with nothing, and just as he was at his wits' end, "Yo, Molly, doing well?" Someone opened the door and stepped right into their meeting. A beautiful young girl, or boy, with golden eyes and silver hair that had a tinge of blue. "Who are you, and how dare you interrupt my important business meeting?" As Kazakh bellowed at the boy, Molly Mile realized who the intruder was. Stunned, there was no way he could forget that face. The face of the champion who'd saved his life. The demon lord Rimuru himself. He knew that this was the leader of that nation of monsters, and hearing he had become a demon lord shocked him to the core. But he really did it. He was part of the octagram, recognized by his fellow demon lords, and for some reason he seemed to take a liking to Molly Mile. They'd often meet up, occasionally working together on potential new business ventures. Recovery potion sales, for example. Molly Mile was still the exclusive vendor around here, and he was now earning stable profits from his work. Just as things settled down with that, Rimuru approached him about developing a new type of food. Ramen, brought in from his own world. This was already on sale in a handful of restaurants, and the feedback was encouraging so far. Of course it was him. He fucking somebodied himself his way in. Anyway. Now, more recently, Rimuru had him taste test something called a burger. Talking about building a chain of restaurants specializing in their production and sales.
I'm telling you, dude.
Molly Mile, I need you to make some McDonald's, man. Come on.
Here's the thing. It's like
Someone
mind-blowing.
said,
It's
"Freaking
mind-blowing to
fuck
somebody. It's literally mind-blowing to somebody like Molly Mile. Not just because it's a burger, but like making chain of restaurants, that money that he can make hand over fist, that's like his bread and butter. And yet at the same time, this is just what it really is just Rimuru just wants food from his world. That's all he wants.
5 slimes.
I don't want to eat
coming
your
to a
crap.
kingdom
I want
near
my
you.
crap.
I wanna
5
eat a
slimes.
That sounds awesome.
All
Dude,
right,
that'd
you
be
know
awesome.
what? That's it.
Restaurant.
We're officially announcing five slimes, burgers, and fries.
Yep.
Yeah.
No
Hell
association
yeah.
or no relation.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Let's see, where was I? Oh, Molly Mile had agreed to test the concept, and right now he was busy assembling and educating his staff, as well as finding a location and outfitting it with everything needed. He had wanted to report back to Rimuru about his progress, but his demon lord duties kept him fiendishly busy. It had been about a month since they last spoke. Well, if it isn't Rimuru, I thought you said you were too caught up in this or that crisis to come visit. Molly Mile, surprised at this sudden appearance, couldn't help but ask. After all, Rimuru had a thundering horde of crusaders to deal with at the moment. He even advised the merchant to avoid Tempest for a while, as it'd be too dangerous for him. Fuse, guildmaster for the Kingdom of Bloomin, was still cursing himself over his failure to stop Hinata the Saint. So why was the Lord himself here? All these thoughts immediately pushed Viscount Kazakh out of Mollymail's mind. Stop! Please stop! The master is seeing another visitor. He could hear the voice of one of his servants, someone too new to know who Rimuru was. Upon catching sight of him, the servant stopped in his tracks and just stared at him, slack-jawed. It was a rather pathetic sight to see, but Mollymail couldn't blame him, since he himself might be doing the same if he didn't stop himself. It was fine if they were talking or scheming over something, but when Rimuru was his normal self, he was just so touchingly attractive, a completely different person. Rimuru, you said? Mollymail ignored Kazakh. Rimuru, finally noticing him, gave him an awkward look. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were busy. I'll be waiting over at your manor, right? See ya. The sound of Rimuru's voice brought Mollymail abruptly back to consciousness. He began to feel honest pity for Kazakh, the Viscount who told the Demon Lord, "How dare you!" to his face. If Rimuru wasn't so easygoing, I doubt the Viscount would be breathing right now. What you don't know can't hurt you, as they say, although Mollymail wondered if he should make an exception at the moment. The Kazakh spoke up again, his voice raised. Look, you little boy or girl. What are you, Mollymail's mistress or the like? Do you realize you both interrupted my meeting and listen in on confidential information? Do you understand the consequences of your indiscretion? Oh, by the gods, what is he saying? Mollymail, seeing Kazakh eye Rimuru up and down with lecherous intent, could feel his heart stop. Oh, I apologize about that, sir. Nobody stopped me from barging in, so... Sorry. Rimuru was cheerfully apologetic, but Kazakh was too high-handed to forgive him. You know, I like your face. Look, you could use a little instruction on how the world works, I'd say. How would you like me to look after you? Great, and now this. Why do I have to deal with these utter fools day in and day out? Mollymail was beyond exasperated and well into the realm of anger. Life seemed too ridiculous to be worth it at this moment. He could handle the scorn of Bush League nobility, but treating Rimuru, a man he owed a life debt to, like some harlot was unforgivable. Kazakh's behavior had crossed the line and then some. Yes, picking a fight with a noble would put Mollymail at a disadvantage in the eyes of the law. But did that mean he should just sit there and take it? No. He was willing to be modest with rabble like this because it'd be a pain for him otherwise, but open hostility deserved to be treated in kind. The merchant steeled himself. Kazakh, you are being rude to the individual who saved my life. Why does some Viscount think he can get away with riling me? What? There will be no more business between us. I don't want to see you in here begging me for anything again. How dare you? A merchant rebelling against nobility? Mollymail, have you gone mad? Anyone willing to work with criminal groups and trigger cross-border crises is nothing but trouble to me. You're liable to bring those kind to the city too. Better to stamp out that pestilence before it can happen, I'd say. Mollymail, after all the favors I've done for you, I'll make sure you regret this.
Please.
With that, Kazakh stormed out of the office. Good, fucker.
Yeah.
Spotting the servants who had come in to see what racket was about and figuring now was a good time to leave. This child, thinking he rules the world. Molly, you sure you're okay with riling that guy?
Jesus,
Rimuru,
at this
meanwhile,
point in
was as
time,
breezy as always.
Rimuru could stand to be a little more Demon
just-
Lord and a little less conspicuous. It's like,
I mean,
at this point in
Rimuru
time,
could
just let a little bit of Lord's ambition leak out. Come on.
Just take
I mean, the guy was
one
talking about-
page of Rimuru of Millam's book.
Or-
Just one.
The guy was
or just
talking about
Rimuru is a-
enslaving elves. So, dude, he could just VoIP and wipe them off from the face of the planet. So, anyway,
Sometimes
Rimuru,
Rimuru's a little
me-
too
Anyway,
Japanese for his own good.
I know he's too reserved sometimes. He should
Yeah.
just that guy from the
Beat
face
that
of the
ass.
planet. Anyway,
Yeah, all right.
yeah, just anyway. Rimuru, meanwhile, was as breezy as always. He really is like nothing on this world, Mollymail thought as he relaxed. It's just as I thought when I heard of his ascension. He never changes. He then dismissed all the other potential clients in his waiting room. In this world, there were certain opportunities you couldn't afford to miss. He wasn't foolish enough to misread the truly important things. He was a capable merchant. What's up?
No, it's I'm
Smart
laughing
boy.
I'm laughing at the slyness of this motherfucker. He's like, all right, Rimuru showed up. You know it's gonna be something good. So yeah,
Everyone else, get out.
yeah.
Yeah, just get the fuck out of here. He wasn't
I
foolish
have
enough to
important
misread.
business to do.
It's true though.
All right,
He wasn't
everybody
foolish
shut up
enough
and
to
let
misread
Jim
the
read.
truly. Okay, I'll let him read. He wasn't foolish enough to misread the truly important things. He was a capable merchant, and he understood the importance of finding diamonds in the rough. but he also knew that some things were vital enough to abandon everything else for. And really, he couldn't find it in himself to make Rimuru wait any longer. Not because Rimuru was a preferred profit-making customer of his. He knew Rimuru helped him out in his greatest time of need, and he thus felt an obligation to never betray him. To him, there was no such thing as a job more important than dealing with Rimuru. Has he come up with another scheme? He thought, growing excited as he instructed his staff to handle all other pressing matters for him. But in just a few moments, Molly Miles' frustrating days of listening to endless strings of confident men and swindlers would come to an end, marking the start of a new chapter in his life.
All right. Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody shut up and let Moon read.
Well, when's he gonna start?
Now.
Fine.
Is he out?
Fucking
Or is he
now.
waning?
Malamile guided me over to his manor. When his butler caught sight of us, he almost fell over himself, bowing to greet me. I'd been here several times before, so he must have recognized me. I keep telling him he doesn't have to do that, but well. Molly Mile, meanwhile, paid no mind, smiling ear to ear as he gave instructions to his servants. I imagine he'd provide the same tea and snacks he always did. Sorry, I said. I guess I kinda interrupted your work. Molly Mile chuckled. No, Rimuru. I had wanted to cut ties with that, dunderhead for a while now. He kept barging into my office with all these outrageous schemes using his noble title to bully me around. He winced, then explained the whole story to me. So that freaky-looking dude back there was nobility? I could fully extinguish my aura at this point, so I didn't need a mask or anything when traveling to human towns. I broke the thing when I ascended anyways. But I still kept it in my pocket, unrepaired, for the memories. That's why the guy must have thought I was a female, but I wasn't about to be upset about that. I knew how to read a situation and go with it. Unlike Veldora and Shion, and I went easy on him because he acted pretty highborn. That was the right decision, I guess.
No,
But if
actually, acting a little Veldora and Shion probably would have been the
would have
right
shut him
move.
up.
Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
have been the right
Yeah.
move.
But if
Yeah.
Molly Mile wanted him out of his life anyway, maybe I shouldn't have bothered. But what if the nobles start getting hostile with you? Wouldn't that make life difficult?
It would, but that man, Kazakh, is nothing but a parasite. Today he came in saying he wanted to deal in slaves, an elven one even.
Elven? I fired back, surprised. I saw a bunch of elves in that Dwarven Kingdom nightclub. Ellen had said had some elven blood in her too. They were treated as demi-human, not monsters, and slavery was likely outlawed around here. Molly, I'd taken to calling him that. Molly Mile was a mouthful. Molly, wouldn't that be a crime?
Yes, very much so. He was asking me to be an accomplice to a crime, and I'll admit I'm not exactly clean as a whistle, but not even I am brazen enough to enslave an elf.
What'd happen if people found out?
Good question. Kazakh has his Viscount title to fall back on. Blumen's a small kingdom, but that means the noble class isn't that extensive. Even someone like him has a fair amount of clout.
He has a Viscount?
He was.
No wonder he kept he was a Viscount. No wonder he kept insulting me like that. That would put him above the Baron of, Veryard, Fuse's friend. And I can see why it'd be so much trouble for Mullen. You sure you're okay then?
Bah! They call me the King of the Dark City, you know? Don't worry about me. I've got enough strength to look out for myself.
The King of the Dark City? Did Blumend even have a city like that? Maybe he was referring to the poorer districts of the nation, but even that was heaven compared to the kind of place Yom grew up in. When it came to law and order, Blumend was on the relatively decent side. I'd take his word for it, though.
Charlie from the Valley was redeemed.
Oh my gosh, you guys. You really ought to be more careful than that. I've got a big job I want your help with. That's right. I've been in talks with him about all kinds of matters, like, ooh, it's spicy. If he picked a fight with some noble punk and it got out of hand, oh, that would just be so terrible. Oh, Lord. I don't even want to think about it.
Oh my god.
I'd have to break a nail out of that, probably.
Oh my god.
You're like the best at doing this voice. Oh my god.
I know.
Like, oh my
I love
god.
it.
Oh my
It's
God.
fine, it's fine. When it comes to good fortune, you'll find none better than old Monomile here. Look at the relationship I've built with you. With you, for starters.
There's just no phasing him, is there? That's what I like about him. But I couldn't
He's
afford
so
to wait
cute.
until after something happened. Maybe I should bring him on a bodyguard or two for him. I thought as I watched him laugh, or as I watched him laugh it off. God, reading.
Okay, stop. You can stop doing that voice now.
Fine.
It's so good though.
No. Really, he makes more mistakes in that voice. So let
This is
him
true.
read normally. Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Also,
Rimuru,
stop. I have to pause for a second. Guys, I apologize. I did not realize that I had paused all the exercises. So you have 8 minutes to turn in exercises. That's it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'll try to read a little slower, but I ain't changing much.
Don't read slower. No.
Okay.
Super
So,
slow.
Rimuru, what brings you here today? I won't do that either. I recall what we had talked about. Lots of dots. We were planning to hold a grand festival attended by the monsters of the Forest of Jura and all the world leaders from the human realms. We called it the Tempest Founders Festival, and we had already picked the dates for it. With things patched up between Hinata and me, all my anxieties were gone. The date of Yom's coronation as king had also been decided, and we had sent word to all the neighboring countries to help that plan along. Riegard and his team were busy writing up invitations to the leaders we wanted there, but they weren't the only ones in full work mode. News of the nationwide festival had riled up enthusiasm across all my domain's monsters, and each of my administration's departments was formulating plans to wow them during the event. Look at Shuna, for example. She intended to launch an entire lineup of new dishes to impress our guests, as well as open Tempest's first cafe, offering a variety of colorful cakes. Yoshida, whose cafe in Inglesia was now a favorite of mine, was assisting in the effort. He had once turned down every offer I sent him, but the moment he set eyes on Shuna, I could see him start to get fidgety.
That's what it
Before
really
I
was.
Yep.
The man,
That's the cute
the
girl.
man was guided by his heart, or more, in fact, the organ that it pumps all the blood to once he sees that woman.
Hog.
Before
She,
I
I'm not
opened
gonna
this
understand.
cafe,
Right now, she know.
I enjoyed the support of a great number of people. I'd be happy to help you too, but I can't really leave here. I hope you will reconsider, Shuna said with a polite and elegant bow, one hand over the other. It was a little show-offy, but powerful enough to shake the heart of any man. I figured it'd work well enough, but... hold on.
Nothing
Flirting
won't
won't
go
work
you
on me,
anyway.
you know. If you want to convince me, do it in the kitchen. If you can wow me with your culinary skills, I would be glad to consider it. Thanks to Yoshida, this was now a cooking battle. Nothing worth worrying about for Shuna, though. Anyone could recognize her cuisine was first-rate. Shuna, give him everything you've got. Make this cocky baker beg for mercy with something spectacular. Yes, my lord. Whoa, who's being cocky now? I ignored Yoshida's complaining. Shuna was ready to go. Yoshida's own skill had lit a fire under her. With the cafe kitchen left to her, Shuna began cooking up the dish nearest and dearest to her heart. Tamagoyaki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A rolled up scrambled egg. Simple, yes, but one's ability to execute it perfectly was the ultimate way to test a chef's acumen. Yoshida eyed the results, placed on a dish, then nervously swallowed before silently stabbing it with a fork and bringing it to his mouth. It's amazing.
It's a shokugeki.
A one-hit KO.
God damn it. It's a shokugeki, but without all the clothes coming off. Reverse
Yes.
clothes beam. All right, anyway.
Nice. Thank you very much, said Shuna, smiling, and that smile was the final blow. Yoshida finally gave in, roundly defeated in heart and taste buds. Well, you got me, but this is a special favor, all right? It was funny, watching this burly middle-aged guy act all shy around Shuna. He was practically falling over himself for this fetching young woman with light pink hair. I think he was smitten from the very start, actually, but better not to say that. If he wanted to play it cool, it'd be mean to stop him. So Shuna and Yoshida were now a pair in the kitchen. I had no doubts they and their work would be a star attraction at the festival. Next, we had Gabiru. The Dragonute was working with Vester to build a presentation devoted to the history of healing potions. They intended to keep the core fundamentals of their research to a trade secret. but they wanted to use this pavilion to recruit new people interested in joining their team.
Posture
They
check.
had enough. They had enough staff for now, they said, but just wanted to find potential hires with the kind of passion they wanted. Garm, eldest of the 3 Dwarven brothers, and Kurobe planned to show off their own wares. Hold on. At the event, their pavilion would be alongside Gabiru and Vesters, and already they were talking about competing to see who attracted the larger crowds. Glad to see they were using this festival to have a little fun. Kaijin was also set to return the night before the bash. I told Geld to take a break during the event, so construction should be largely complete before then. I informed my staff, that our prisoners of war deserved.
I was joking about one of the words you said. You said constructing, and I was like, yeah, constructing.
Yeah, constructing. You never heard that word?
Yeah. Not until now.
I informed my staff that our prisoners of war deserved a little celebration as well. They'd be enjoying a feast over in their own facility. A few people would have to work during the holiday, but we made sure to accommodate their schedules so they could trade off days and not be stuck on duty the whole time. The festival would continue for about a week, so I wanted everyone to get in on the excitement. Come to think of it, Shion was planning something too. She was very confident about it. I hope you're looking forward to it, Sir Rimuru. So I was half excited, half scared shitless. That, and Valdor was alarming me with his suggestions again. Better do something about that before he starts freaking people out. Looking at all these people, I figured I should probably pitch in somehow, which brings me to the involvement of my old friend Guard Mulemile. Mollymile. Fuck. It's got the J.
Mollymile.
Mjolnir. Mollymile.
All the dots.
Meow meow.
A manor servant brought me some tea. I had come here many times before, so he was used to me and provided a couple of the cookies I liked. Taking a sip of the drink, I grinned. It was just as tasty as always, helping put my mind in a better place. Time to move on to negotiations then. Anyway, Molly, I've got another job for you. Don't worry, it's an easy one this time, I promise.
Oh, another bright idea of yours. You always bring such fascinating projects to the table, but they certainly require a lot of startup work, to say the least.
He grinned at me. Despite his complaint, it was clear he was interested in what I had to offer him. My project to bring fast food to this world, burgers, the whole bit, was still underway. I had handed my outline of what needed to be done to Monomile, and he was in the midst of executing it. The plan had been on the back burner for a while. What with Hinata marching on me and everything, but... and everything. But I wanted to come over and see how it was going, as well as talk about putting up a satellite location in Tempest, in time for our festival. Don't be a stick in the mud, Molly. You know our recent project. Before we launch in Bloomend and Iglesia, I'd like you to maybe open up a test location in my nation first.
Oh? You know, I actually appreciate that offer a great deal, because I was just thinking about where we should train our staff. But if you're proposing that, have you worked out your differences with the Crusaders?
He looked a bit concerned. I must have left him too long without updates. Although I didn't intend for it to turn into a fight, we had certain Luminism doctrine issues to deal with. If we were going to continue dealing with the Western nations, we couldn't afford to ignore the Holy Church issues. Now, however, that was all taken care of. We had nothing left to worry about. Yeah, I worked them out. All right, I worked them out all right. Hinata and I made amends peacefully, and I also worked things out with loose ends. We managed to set a few ground rules and tie up any loose ends, that's all. Everything's peachy keen now.
Ah, I see. And here I thought the Western Holy Church was a much more intimidating group to work with. Glad to see they're more reasonable than I thought. Than that. Maybe I was too worried for my own good.
Mollymile gave me a relieved smile. I politely smiled back, sweating on the inside about the mistake I just barely avoided making. If I had followed through there and said Luminism's name, there'd be hell to pay,
Luminous.
which I could deal with.
Luminous's name, not Luminism's
shit.
name.
Habits. Which I could deal with But what if she decided to rub out Molimile as well? I was inviting both Luminous and Hinata, and her Crusaders to the Founders Festival, so I'd better not shoot my mouth off before then. Not that I knew whether the Demon Lord would deign to grace my little event with her presence. She'd probably be like, why would I ever let myself be seen among the rabble? Or something. I'm sure she'd be an incredibly demanding visitor if she showed, so I honestly didn't mind if she declined. Though maybe I ought to encourage her to attend. I don't know.
In that case,
Molimile happily exclaimed as I thought about this.
Let me show you the results of our training so far.
There was no point in wondering about whether she'd come. I needed to consider my own program for now. Oh, has it been going well?
Nothing less than perfect. We've trained them to the point that everyone can perform their tasks on the same level.
Ah, I knew you wouldn't let me down, Molimile. We grinned at each other. It sounded like making our debut at the fest wouldn't be an issue. So, can we put up a storefront offering burgers, hot dogs, fries, and the drink lineup we talked about?
That we can. And I think we can attract customers with those beef skewers dipped in the secret sauce you talked about. Pairing them with a rice bowl will definitely improve our bottom line.
It's been getting good reviews. Molimile briskly nodded.
It's become a low-key staff favorite, that's for sure.
Making yakitori skewers out of a cow deer and chiducken seemed to satisfy people. This is my first time getting to read both of those names.
Sorry, Chiducken
broke.
sounds really funny.
Ah.
Chiducken.
I haven't heard that word since Thanksgiving.
Great. Let's add that to the menu too. Do we have enough employees to work with?
Well, for the moment, I'm thinking we could launch with upward of 20 locations, but starting that big would take a fair amount of money. We'd need backup personnel, which I'm training right now. That's a necessary expense, the way I see it. So along those lines, if we can deploy more gradually, say 5 locations at a time, that'll put us well within budget.
That's Molimile for you. He fully understood my proposal, and already he was working out any staff issues involved. In that case, all right, well, sorry to trouble you for this, but can you bring over around 5 of your best employees?
5? What did you want from them?
Well, I've got this friend of mine. His name's Veldora.
Veldora?
Yeah, and he's like super worked up about opening a hibachi booth at the fest.
Is he...
Molimile seemed to be growing visibly paler as I explained. It worried me, but I soldiered on. So, it'd be way too dangerous to leave him running that by himself, right?
I would say so, yes.
I beamed at him. So that's why I want 5 of your best staffers to help him. Molimile, watching me gleefully dump all the responsibility on him, turned his eyes toward the ceiling.
Would you be able to guarantee the, safety of the staff?
Of course. Whenever they have any problems, they can come right to me. If Veldora starts getting all uppity, I'll put him in his place.
I trust you will, yes, but, we are talking about the Veldora, yes? The Storm Dragon?
I suppose we were. Guess Molimile knew the name, didn't he? Is that bad?
Bad may not be the correct term. I just wonder if the crew will be too, well, petrified to get any work done.
I should have known. Yeah, if you haven't met Veldora, you must think he's crazy scary, huh? Catastrophe class and all that. Well, maybe that's not a good idea, huh?
No, perhaps not. If he could at least assume another name for himself temporarily, our staff could work for him unawares.
Aha! Yes, brilliant, Molly. Let's give him another name so nobody knows who he is.
Huh? You could do that?
What? So
Sure you can.
Is he literally about to just give another name to
No,
Veldora,
no,
like
no,
a legit
not
name?
like that. Not like that. No,
No, a fake
Okay.
name.
That would have been so funny.
Okay,
Just
come on.
make him more powerful. Sure, if he whines about it, I'll just tell him he can't do the hibachi thing at all. Right, let's do that. And I'll pay a special bonus to the 5 people you pick for me. So let them know I'm counting on them, okay? Whether Molimile was keeping up with me or not, I considered this problem as good as solved. Veldora was being as selfish as always, but we were entertaining world celebrities here. Embarrassment would be the least of our worries if he gave all our guests food poisoning or whatever. So I couldn't rest easy until I knew there were people who could watch over it and direct him. I didn't want to dismiss him out of hand, but I was too nervous to let him off the leash completely. Ooh, pardon. So it's a lucky thing Malamile had the staff trained like I asked him. He looked like he wanted to tell me something, but probably nothing important. The ball was in his court now.
Okay. All right. So, here's the thing, guys. We've read over 40 pages in just this short amount of time.
Yes.
We have about 22 to go. I think we can actually knock that out in the next half hour. So, I would actually like to continue, and I've already paused all the exercises, so we don't have more than 20 of anything.
Woo!
And actually, some things we don't even have any of. It's just
Cool.
10. So I've toned it down on the exercises so that we can read for longer. And so that's what we're going to do. Right now, on my book, we're at 122. 146 is where the chapter ends.
Mm-hmm.
And the next dot is at 134. So we've got 24 pages. I think we can do this. So I want to give it a go.
Okay.
Especially because like we're so close that if we just stopped here and picked up from here next week, we'd be done way too quickly.
We just start with the next book, if anything.
Well, no, I wouldn't start with the next chapter.
No, we got plenty to do, dude.
Yeah, we got plenty to do. I just
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually just the next one, especially because the next one involves Ramirez and like how like that whole thing goes about. I can't wait to read that. So, yeah, I kind of want to just pour on through. So, I'm just going to soldier through here.
Okay.
Rimuru looks supremely happy with himself. Cocky little shit. At resolving this issue. Mollymile, meanwhile, felt like someone had just thrown a lit bomb into his lap. Lord Veldora? I knew the seal had been undone, but he wants me to deal with him? This was a major headache in the making, for sure. Rimuru was talking sense at first. Building a stand for the festival would be a good training opportunity. But if they were babysitting Veldora as well, that was another story. Mollymile wondered what the hell he had just gotten himself into, but as he observed the smiling, carefree Rimuru in front of him, he decided to take the, approach. Ever since Rimuru saved him, he had tried to live life with no regrets. He might have been conniving and obsessed with money, but he was nothing if not brave. But a festival, though, eh? If we're talking a large-scale event, I imagine you must have people jumping up and down to join in. A good opportunity for a merchant like myself, He had reason to think so. Many people, merchants and adventurers in particular, were now filing in and out of Tempest. It was starting to get heavily advertised. Mollymile was sure there were attracting curious travelers from the nearby towns and villages. That was exactly the kind of situation a merchant stood to profit from. Oh, you're interested? Rimuru took a sip of his tea, apparently picking up on Mollymile's muttering. You know, to tell the truth, I'm still wavering on a few things with this festival. I know you've helped us decide on some of our attractions already, but I'm still trying to think of a big flashy centerpiece for the event. A centerpiece? Yeah. Basically, my plan is to turn our town into a kind of health resort. We've got a hot spring infrastructure in place, along with lodging and guest houses suitable for royalty, but I feel like we're still lacking in entertainment. I see, Molly replied, figuring it wouldn't hurt to hear him out. As the excited Rimuru then explained, the Tempest already boasted a healthy amount of high-end accommodation. Mollymile had stayed in it before, so he knew that much. The rooms on offer ran the gamut, providing a selection of things to enjoy. A nice meal with a fine view of the gardens, an open-air hot spring to relax in, and so on. In the smaller nations of the world, it'd be hard for even the nobility to maintain their own private baths. That went double if there wasn't any water service, forcing you to physically dump water in a tub and heat it up manually. To Mollymile, who took that for granted, a facility with a hot spring you could enjoy any time you liked was nothing short of mind-blowing. But apparently Rimuru wasn't satisfied with just that. I understand all that, he said, but if you already have good food and relaxing spaces, how much more of a resort do you need? Rimuru shook his head. You aren't thinking big enough, Molly Mile. Me, I think that won't be enough on its own. I'd like some kind of project that everyone can have a little more fun with. Like, for example, what Rimuru then laid out for him was a complete recreational tourism strategy for the Forest of Jura. They'd provide travelers with day-long walking tours deep into the forest, accompanied by a guide / bodyguard. They'd hold fishing tournaments at the nearby canyons, hunting tours amid untouched natural reserves, and so on and so on. All the needed equipment would be available to rent for anyone interested. That does sound kind of exciting. It'd certainly attract the kind of nobility with all the time in the world on their hands, and for those with more active work lives, it'd be a fine way to relax, right? You see? That's what I'm hoping for, but I'm just wondering if there's something we can get everybody in on, you know? One of Rimuru's aims with the Founders Festival, it seemed, was to encourage repeat visitors to Tempest. He was coming up with all kinds of things to keep travelers engaged and interested in the area. Molly Mile was both amazed and exasperated. How many years ahead was he even thinking? Well, why not using Glacie as an example to imitate? The theater is quite popular over there, in their capital, I hear. They hold operas and stage plays nearly every other day of the year. There. You also see fighting tournaments held live in the arena. Oh yes, where the hero Masayuki is, right? Isn't he really popular? He certainly is. Lightspeed Masayuki, as they call him. He's dominated the tournaments for years. I'm actually rather a fan of his. You are? Even a hardened merchant like Molly Mile had his sport allegiances. He began giving an in-depth explanation of the tournament system to Rimuru, failing to notice how he began to yawn almost instantly. So really, nobody's seen a man's sword flash that way before, hence the name Lightspeed, as you see. Occasionally, they hold to-the-death battles with captured monsters, but the hero's fighting companions are pretty strong themselves. I've been in the audience for some real white-knuckle matches myself, and if you had a spectacle like that... but I'm sorry. I've been taking far too long. But, come to think of it, isn't your staff pretty strong too, Rimuru? Who's the strongest out of... Whoa! Stop right there! I can't let you go on, Molly Mile! It was obvious Molly Mile's interest would shift over to Benimaru and the rest of Rimuru's officers sooner or later. He had met Rigurd and the others several times, and to him their muscles couldn't have been just for show. Between them and all the other powerful Magic-born he saw around town, he couldn't help but wonder who was champion among them all. Now seemed like a good time to ask, but Rimuru's reaction was chilly. Listen, Rimuru said, voice lowered. Between you and me, if you start talking like that around them, it's gonna cause some serious disputes, you know? There's this paladin named Arnaud, and he actually asked the same question back when we were all negotiating earlier. It led to the most insipid argument you ever saw. They were all trying to rank themselves on some impossible-to-understand scale, and it was starting to get pretty heated before I stepped in. I was lucky enough that only part of my staff was there, but seriously, better avoid topics like that. It's a real powder keg with those guys. You are not wrong. You start getting people like Shion and Diablo and Benimaru arguing over who's the top dog. It's Benimaru. It's Benimaru. It's Benimaru. But like, it's Benimaru.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, unless we get Diablo in the mix.
No, it's still Benimaru.
Really?
Benimaru's top dog.
It'd be close, maybe, but I'd go with
Benimaru's still
Benimaru.
top dog. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about the hierarchy of Tempest, it's still Benimaru.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, like, if anyone was gonna replace Rimuru, if Rimuru just disappeared or whatever.
Benimaru, he's already
Benimaru.
said it. Yeah, Rimuru's already got that as a fallback. A fallback. Why did I say a fallback? Wow. Just wow. My.
I didn't even hear you say fall black, and then you said it. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Well,
You were probably thinking of Diablo
yeah.
because you're like, oh, yeah.
I see. My
He
point.
is the fall
Okay.
black.
The one official who'd likely pitched the biggest fit of all about the question wasn't there, Rimuru said, so he'd managed to talk everyone down from their fervor. He'd been trying to avoid such delicate questions ever since. If his main staff ever got into a real fight with one another, it could affect everything he'd striven to build for his town, and he couldn't afford to risk that. I see, my pardons then. That's okay, just be careful around them. But I do like your point of view here. Rimuru didn't seem overly concerned about the issue, unlike Molly Mile. I'd say he's a little skewed too, he thought as he waited for Rimuru to continue. There is one vacant section of town. Perhaps we could turn it into an opera house, huh? Maybe that'd encourage people to become playwrights, and that'd lead to some new forms of entertainment. And an arena, huh? He looked at Molly Mile, and the merchant could almost see the gears turning behind his smile. Great, he thought. He's got some grandiose plan in mind. Again, why does he always have to look like that? He's good-looking enough as long as he keeps his mouth shut. Molly Mile! He shuddered. The moment had come. Yes? You know a lot about battle tournaments, right? Rimuru stood up and then sat next to Molly Mile, voice as ingratiating as possible, as he practically whispered in his ear. How about we hold one, then? Can you arrange that for me? Now, wait a minute! That's a lot to put on my plate out of... We could build the arena for you. For now, I just need you to handle the show aspect. Molly Miles' objections fell on deaf ears. There was no point resisting him any longer. There's just no beating you, is there, Rimuru? Every single time. All right, I promise I'll do my best for you. He showed a bit of a smile now. Honestly, Molly Mile didn't hate this. In fact, being assigned such a vital mission was like music to his ears. What did he need to put on a show like that? He'd have to both research it and put his thoughts into action. Never in his dreams did he ever think he'd be entrusted with such a large-scale event. Well, I'm in too deep now. I'll never get this chance again. He didn't even care if he messed this up. Based on all the business partners he ever had, he knew this man, Rimuru, wasn't the type to get angry over one failure or the other. He brought ideas into fruition fast, and he could be trusted. The most important thing to any merchant. If he said he'd build an arena, he'd build an arena. As unbelievable as it was to Molly Mile, he could give his monsters any orders he wanted, and they'd be able to pull it off for him. He may not look it too often, but Rimuru's a demon lord. As long as his plans are sound, it'd be simple for him to assemble everything he needed. And now he's relying on me. Good to hear, Rimuru replied blithely as Molly Mile's emotions ran wild. And I know we're trying to get lots of world leaders, but make sure regular people can join in on the fun too, okay? You can't make a profit if it's not open to the general public, after all. I saw that in Inglacia. Oh God. Okay, I don't know what happened to Moon's stuff, but boy did it get bright all of a sudden.
Oh
no.
He got eaten.
He got eaten.
The hell?
There you go. Okay, he's back. Moon is back, everybody. Yay! Your screen went nuts for a second.
Yeah, one.
Suddenly it was really bright, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paler than usual.
Okay.
All right, anyway.
What happened? I missed that.
You're good. Let's see. Where was I? He may not look it too often. Good to hear. The general public? Yeah. I'm going to build a coliseum capable of holding 50,000 people or so. Like I said, there's some vacant space to work with. If we build that fast food stand we were talking about nearby, that ought to goose our profits, won't it? We could have people go around selling food, and besides, the more foot traffic passing by, the more customers we'll get, right? What do you think, Molly? Rimuru was picturing entertainment for the masses and taking the masses' money. The 50,000-seat Coliseum would compare to Inglacia's pretty favorably, in fact. It would be 5 times that arena's size. It showed how serious Rimuru was about this. You see, we could have some standing room sections that we'll let people into at no charge. Meanwhile, we can direct rich people to the reserve seats and charge them appropriately. And then we'll have royal boxes for the nobility with more money than sense. We'll also need seats for special guests and invitees and things. I'd like you to figure out the ratios we need for all those seat types, if we want to make as much money as possible. Once again, he was leaving it all to Mollymile with a smile. Not even Inglesia's arena allowed the farmer and citizen classes to watch arena events for free. Mollymile could see the logic to it. I see. I thought 50,000 was too high a number to aim for, but if it's that important, if that's what you're picturing, right. It's important that we attract people's interest with this. Pardon me. It's important that we attract people's interest with this stuff. Pardon me. I lost my place. Interest with this stuff. Okay, there we go. And if we pack the standing room sections, won't that make a reserved seat look more attractive if you can afford it? I bet it would. Better to reserve a spot instead of vying for space you don't know will be available. That'll naturally make the seats more valuable. This was a completely different approach from the arena in Inglesia's capital, which was chiefly a diversion for the upper classes. The aim here was to build buzz and pack as many people in as possible. It sounded deeply compelling to Mollymile. If admission was free, farmers and field laborers would come over to see the show when work didn't occupy them, and when they spread the word about what they saw, that attracted the middle classes from neighboring nations. Besides, having tens of thousands of visitors would no doubt fill up the inns along the highways to Tempest. It'd be kind of neat to build the fast food establishments Rimuru described at stops along the way. When they arrived, of course, they'd need somewhere to stay. And if it could help advertise their food, their lodging, their baths, and so on, the arena wouldn't even need to make a profit. The businesses all these fans would bring to town could more than make up for it. I gotta hand it to you, Rimuru. You had this all planned out from the start, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, kind of. Of course, yes! You have enough hotel rooms for it, I think. The issue becomes how to attract guests on a regular basis. We'll need to think about boosting our profit margins later, but spreading the word comes first, I think. And that's what you're counting on me to help with. Yeah, pretty much. I see. You want me to come up with the kind of entertainment that'll bring people back again and again. Something that'll make them contemplate another visit, even if this particular battle tournament turns a loss. If we do that, you'll consider this a success? That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm impressed you understand me so well, Molly. You're the only man I can trust with this job. Find ways to attract people to Tempest using a battle tournament as bait. Excited Mollymile to the core, and really, Rimuru had all but worked it out by himself without throwing it in his lap. Or, before throwing it in his lap. He had to resist the urge to shout out loud with excitement. This is just too much. Hey, it's best to leave things like this to a professional, right? Don't tell me you don't feel up to it, Molly. Ha! Ha 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 ha! How harsh of you! I never realized you had such a mean streak, Rimuru. Right you are, but this is a piece of cake for you, isn't it? They both laughed loudly at each other, then exchanged sly glances. You realize how much money is going to change hands here, I'm sure you do. Not to worry, you have Molly, oh, I'm sorry. Not to worry, you have Mollymile on your side. And accounting is my middle name. Just watch. I'm going to give you exactly the results you want. I'm sure you will. Counting on you is the smartest thing I've ever done. Rimuru was right. This tournament would take a lot of money. He honestly scared Mollymile sometimes. He began to wonder just how far ahead he was thinking. The thought gave him vague fears, even as his mind filled with wild dreams. Now, along those lines, I think I've stumbled upon a new way we can use your healing potions. That medicine can heal you as long as you are not killed instantly, yes? This means our competitors can fight with no small level of intensity, I assume. Plus, if a fighter is injured in one match and appears good as new in the next one, that would certainly make for some good advertising. What? Oh, did you not think that far? No, I did. It's just that, I wanted to see if your thoughts were any different than mine. Ah, I see. Yes. Rimuru, you fucking liar.
Yeah, he's good poker face, though.
Yes, I'm sure you've already considered that much, Rimuru. But I'm not done yet. Molly Mile began to lay out idea after idea for him. This turned into a volley of brainstorming and compliments on the ideas. One concept was advertising the healing potion at the tournament, then selling it on site to adventurers. Another involved weapon and armor rentals and sales. Even Kurobe's failures at the forge are pretty off the charts when it comes to raw power. We can't sell those to just anyone, but he has a workshop full of apprentices these days. Offering their stuff shouldn't be an issue. They decided to give it a shot. Another idea thrown around was state-run betting operations. This also existed in Inglacia, where even simple pick'em bets were netting huge amounts of revenue at the arena. They could do the same thing, pitting warriors against captured monsters, which had its risks, of course, but Rimuru had a small army of powerful fighters at this point, so it wasn't nearly the hazard Molly Mile pictured. Maybe they could even offer training courses for beginner adventurers, reserving part of the arena space as a dojo of sorts. The lessons would be paid, of course, but they'd come with qualified instructors to guide newbies through the basics. The ideas came rolling one after the other from Molly Mile. As long as Rimuru was providing his full support, he felt like he'd never run out of them. He couldn't stop thinking about how huge this role was, dreaming up possibilities and being responsible for making them happen. It was a bit daunting, but far more than that, exciting. "I'll do it," he said with a shiver. "I'll do it all for you. My merchant soul is telling me we're going to make a massive profit of pile of money from this." Excellent. I love that confidence of yours, Molly, and I know you got what it takes to give me the kind of revenue I want. Rimuru's praise embarrassed Molly Mile a bit, but he wasn't done yet. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. The sniffling is getting to me.
Allergies.
All sorts of stuff. Rimuru's praise embarrassed Molly Mile a bit, but he wasn't done yet. Also, if you're interested, of course, if this whole tournament turns out well, you want to come live in my town? I could make a trade department for you, or maybe a PR firm, or general financial office. It doesn't matter what we call it, actually, but I could let you run it all. I got a pretty big population to govern these days, and once the tournament's over, I think it's high time we reorganize our administration. I'm sure everyone will agree to it as long as you can pull this off. What do you think? Rimuru sounded like he didn't doubt Molly Mile at all. It made his heart dance. The question, "What do you think?" plucked his heartstrings like a master harpist, and the melodies echoed over and over through his mind like a concert hall. He gave him a strong nod. "There's just no beating you, Rimuru. Or should I start calling you Sir Rimuru? I promise you, Sir Rimuru, I'll do whatever it takes to succeed and join your team." There wasn't a moment's hesitation. How could there ever be? This man has counted on me so far, he thought. I can't let myself mess this up. As advanced as he was in age, Molly Mile was now captive to the burning fires of excitement and hope and dreams in his heart. He could barely stay seated. He wished he could bottle this feeling up in a jar and keep it nearby forever. "You don't have to exaggerate," Rimuru laughed, but the more they got into the details, the more Molly Mile felt like he was going to jump out of his skin. Pulling this event off and becoming Rimuru's trusted associate with his new ambition in life, and he was ready to fight tooth and nail to make it happen. Once Rimuru left, Molly Mile called over his retainers and servants. "What did Sir Rimuru want from you, Sir Molly Mile?" asked Bid, the former sea-level adventurer who was now the merchant's personal bodyguard. "Bid," Molly replied with a elated nod. "Things are about to get very busy." "Oh, did he give you another impossible task? I like all the ideas he has, but I wish he understood how much he puts you through. The ringer, huh?" Sorry about that. I lost track of the sentence for a second there. "I wish he understood how much he puts you through the ringer, huh?" He laughed, but he didn't really mean it. Just like Molly Mile, Bid owed Rimuru his life. He was one of the Demon Lord's greatest fans, and while he described it as a ringer, Bid probably enjoyed the ringer more than anyone else. Mollymile chuckled back at him. Bid, this is gonna be nothing like you've ever seen before. Everything I've done up to now was like selling pencils on the street corner compared with what's coming. I'll be wagering my destiny on this one. He already looked like a mob boss, but Mollymile's smile only added to his foreboding presence. His retainers were used to it, but none could hide their surprise upon hearing this declaration. What do you mean by that, boss? His chief butler asked. His boss gave him a quick recap, running a battle tournament alongside the Founders Festival, together with a test run of their upcoming fast food concept. The festival itself would be a show of force for the newly ascended Rimuru, an effort all of Tempest was pitching in for. And the scope of it was likely beyond even Mollymile's imagination. His excitement at receiving such a vital assignment was plain as he explained to the staff. Thus, I've decided, he concluded, that I want to become part of Rimuru's team. No matter what, I have to make sure this is a huge success. His servants began to chatter amongst themselves. Mollymile, it seemed, had no intention of returning to Bloomin'. It caused quite a stir. You planning on going alone, are you, Sir Mollymile? Maybe I'm just some punk off the street, but I'm still your bodyguard. The gang I got under me practically worships Sir Rimuru. Take me along with you. You wouldn't be able to guard so much as a flea over there. Aw, come on! But if you would like to assist me in other ways, I suppose I could bring you along. Sure thing, boss. I'll do anything for you. I ain't exactly intelligent, but I got street smarts, you know. Bid likely did, given his swindler past, although it left Mollymile less than convinced. Bah! All right. The more the merrier, I suppose. And I bet that gang of yours could provide at least a little security. If they know they'll get a meal out of it, let's take 'em along now, he continued, turning toward his retainers. What about you? You're free to continue using this manor as you like. Let us join you, sir, they said in near unison. There was no hesitation among them. After all, Mollymile had trained them. Nothing was keeping them in this nation. It was decided, and now the real work began. As a full-fledged citizen of Bloomin' and member of the Free Guild, Mollymile had the freedom to travel to other nations, but as a man who believed in fast action once he made a decision, he felt a duty to the business he had remaining in town. There was no need for anxiety about the future. You, he said, pointing out one of the most talented employees, you've proven yourself qualified enough. Do you think you can run things here for me? Sir? This is so sudden. Well, I mean, I appreciate that you'd like to join me, but think about it. We'll be starting completely from scratch in Sir Rimuru's domain. I'm planning to be a big success and win over his trust. But I don't want you to run that gauntlet too. This was a cover story. In truth, he didn't want to sell his manor and lose his base of operations in Bloomin'. Ideally, a few of his people would remain here, keeping the lights on whenever his work brought him back. The leader he picked, a man named Bach, was brought here by his father, a relative of Mollymile's who'd asked him to train his son in the business. He proved quick-witted enough to live up to his end of the bargain. However, Bach's family had faced difficulty after his father's business failed, leaving him with nowhere to return to, so Mollymile decided to formally hire him as head clerk. At the moment, that family was living off Bach's income, and Mollymile felt too guilty about having him go off on this risky venture. He had no complaint about his work. No doubt the business would work fine under his watchful eye. Boss, I couldn't be happier to receive this offer from you, but I hope that we could perhaps join you. Bach, no doubt, was too young to readily accept this. He was reluctant to go fully independent yet. Perhaps he still had things to prove to Mollymile. It was cute of him, but Mollymile didn't like it. If Bach wanted to stand on his own, he had to be let out in the wild sooner or later. This was a golden opportunity. Bach, I'm not your father. I'm offering you a position running this business, but I'm not giving it to you. Listen, even after I leave here, you better not do anything that puts this business on the rocks, all right? In fact, once you're able, I'd like to see you buy this outfit out from under me. So make it a big success and bring your parents back here someday. All right? He gave him an affectionate smile and patted him on the shoulder. It was a tender moment, even if he still intended to work out a contract with Bach and keep a piece of the proceeds. He was a merchant, occasionally a hard taskmaster, but never a philanthropist. Besides, he reasoned, if he can't even pay me for my share of the business, he'd never have what it takes to succeed in the first place. Thank you, Bach said, choking up a bit. Thank you. I promise you that I'll make a man out of myself and repay this favor. I hope you do, replied Molly Mile, smiling ear to ear. Now he went to work, choosing who to bring and who to keep behind. If you ever have any problems, he advised Bach, tell me about them and I'll help. But I believe in you all. I know you'll do just fine. Don't disappoint me. The group meeting in Bloomond all nodded at him. The group remaining in Bloomond nodded at him. I'd already caught that, but thank you. I don't know how much of a delay it is, but by the time you said it, I'd already gone back and redone it. The group remaining in Bloomond, blah, blah, blah. Molly Mile had trained them thoroughly. None of them would fall out of line. Even if they were dealing with high nobility, he was sure they'd never do anything ill-advised. You've taught them all well. Rest assured, they will not let you down, Bach said in return. Well said, also. While I'm sure you're aware of this, don't worry, sir. I promise we will maintain the sales markets you've built up here. If you ever need access to them, we'll give you first priority. Good, I hope you will. Just in case, Molly Mile wanted to be sure he got first dibs on any goods he might need. He always kept an eye on every facet of the situation, and Bach was in perfect sync with his thoughts. He's still a little green, but he's starting to look the part, at least. Now he was sure Bach wouldn't let him down. The last of his affairs were now squared away, and it was time for Molly Mile to make the journey to Tempest with his retainers in tow. All right, 12 pages left.
Long.
Yeah, that was way longer than I thought. 12 pages left. Shem, you're finishing it.
Okay. Leaving Molly Miles' house, I breathed a sigh of relief. So glad he said yes to that. He seemed ready to take the invite too, so I should be expecting him shortly. One thing I couldn't say about my monsters is that any of them were good on financial matters. I was having Shuna handle the account books for us, but she couldn't do that forever. A village is one thing, but a full-fledged nation is another. Shuna will be in over her head. Lilina in the management department and Vesta from the Dwarven Kingdom were helping, but I'm not even sure that would be enough. That's why Mollymaw came to mind. His brain revolved around money in ways few people ever experienced. He had connections with nobility, and he was running businesses in multiple countries. It seemed a waste for him to remain a merchant forever. I was sure he'd be a great help for me, or he'd be a great help to me. Besides, we had a good working relationship. If he could handle finances for us, maybe he'd allow me a little more spending money to work with. I've been running a few side hustles with him before, but now I could picture that extra income ballooning. I mean, our treasury is pretty well endowed, but taking money out of it for myself, despite not paying any salary to my staff, seemed kind of low. Everyone always said, "Oh, it's all yours, Surimaru," but that just made me all the more reluctant. It felt wrong, and I wanted that money to help with expanding our nation. Still, I needed some of it. I wanted to take people like Gupta out at night every now and then, even if I didn't have enough or much interest in it. Beldor was whining at me about that too, and you know how you go through cash pretty quick at nightclubs. Not that I had much interest, that is. No, really. While it was a drop in the bucket for our treasury, if it was my personal money, I'm sure Gupta and Veldor would burn through it like it was nothing. Plus, Shuna usually provides me with money, but if I tell her where I'm going, she snaps that wallet shut, and I can't really tell her it's my money then, so... This was why I was running a few side jobs for extra spending cash. And with my future expansion, I had a feeling money wouldn't be a worry for much longer. That battle tournament was a pretty neat idea too. Molly Mile is such a talented guy. I wasn't sure how he would take it, but he demonstrated some real enthusiasm as we brainstormed the plan. It barely took him a moment to suggest running a tournament to attract visitors, then take advantage of the crowds to sell potions and equipment. He's got a real forward eye and a knack for great ideas, that's for sure. Once I get back, I'll need to get ourselves an arena to work with. Geld was busy with urban planning work over in the Beast Kingdom, and Mildo was supporting him. Without our two main building specialists, I'd have to oversee the operation, but that's fine. After running all these construction projects one after the other, we were starting to build a well-trained staff, enough so that I was mostly giving orders and not doing much else. I knew about this craftsman named Gobq, who worked under the tutelage of Mildo, and he was involved with town architecture enough that I thought an impressive circular arena would be in his wheelhouse. The job would normally take a decade or so, I'd imagine, but if you run the job with monster muscle, I thought we could cut that down a lot, like down to maybe 2 months or so we had until the festival. Even I had to admit that was far too little time to get everything done. So for now, I at least wanted the central fighting stage to be completed. But how would we design it?
I think Great Sage is just putting everything to voicemail at the moment.
Oh, okay. Understood. I didn't even see
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah, understood. From my master's memories, I found the Colosseum of Rome, building blueprints using it as a base. Completed. Well, that was easy. I had some paper on hand, so I drew up the plans, adding my own style to it. This alone would normally take several months, surveying the site, calculating soil strength, that kind of thing. You could often spend a whole year on that kind of preliminary stuff, and here I was, drawing up blueprints that'd normally take several days on a computer on our equivalent of a cocktail napkin. Raphael's support helped a lot even with detailed work like this. It honestly felt unfair to me, but I had no plans to give it up, so now I had my plans. Next, I'd have to discuss them with Gopq, and before that, while I was here in Bloomend, I may as well stop at the Free Guild. I could forward the plans over to Gopq in the meantime. Once I was free, I could assemble a team of craftsmen on site to get down to the business.
It would
Ranga,
be the
you
one
there?
time. It would be the one time that Great Sage had anything to say that I had to go and check on my laundry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'd do my best impression of you.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Yeah. Anyway,
He popped his head up.
yeah. Ranga,
Oh.
you there? Oh, did you want me to do the impression?
No, you're good.
Okay, I was gonna say.
No, I just realized I don't think he actually read the line. Just my mistake.
No, I did. Back then.
Oh, my bad.
Ranga, you there? Here, my master. He popped his head out from my shadow. With things settled over in Farmus, everyone except Diablo was back home, with Ranga lurking in my shadow like it was his personal den. I gave him the arena blueprints I had just whipped up. Take these to a craftsman in town named Gopq, and can you tell him we'll meet up at the west gate once I'm free? Very well. But are you not returning, Surumimaru? No, I want to see Fuse first, while I'm here. Will you not need a bodyguard? He looked a bit nervous, tail down, but I wasn't concerned. I am a demon lord, and I had absolute defense activated. If I ran into an attack that could penetrate that barrier, I wouldn't be safe anywhere in this world. I'll be fine. We'll just chat a bit, and then I'll head back. But I should be concerned about Molly Mile, huh? He's gotten kind of tangled up with this one bottom feeder noble, and there's no telling what the fallout from that is going to be like. Ah, the vulgar man from before? Would you like me to snuff him out?
Jesus.
Please no. I mean, we would. Please no. Doing that in a foreign city is how you trigger a diplomatic crisis. You know, I think you've been hanging out with Shion too long. You're getting too aggressive for your own good. I think you need to learn some more common sense. I do? Ranga looked shocked. He must not have realized it. Look, you are really sticking to what I told you back at the last fight. You weren't going too far, were you? I would never do that, my master. He looked uncertain.
Boy.
Yeah. He looked uncertain, and I was
7 foot
certain.
man.
Yeah, when he went. He looked uncertain, and I was starting to get suspicious. Gulpto and Gabiru, I recalled, would only say things like, he was fine, and yes, having Sir Ranga at our side was a tremendous boon. When I asked for a report, it sounded fishy, but I never followed up on it. It just seemed like an invitation for further headaches, and I was leaving that to Diablo anyway. If he had no complaint, I just assumed all was well. Maybe I was just kicking the issue down the road, but well. If there really was a problem, I would have heard about it. Better trust in Ranga for now and make sure Shion doesn't poison his mind any further. I patted Ranga on the back. Ranga, buddy? Seriously, don't do anything crazy, okay? I wouldn't dare, he replied, solemnly nodding. Good. Now go relay that message, okay? And if anyone's free on our security team, I'd like them to guard Molly Mile for me. Check on that, could you? Yes, my master. He disappeared back into my shadow. So now Molly Mile was under guard, albeit behind the scenes, so he didn't pick up on it. I didn't know who would come to guard him, but there wasn't that many people on the security staff I'd trust with solo duty. The new guys were out of the question, so it'd have to be at least a seasoned sergeant-class officer. Here, sergeant refers to as sort of team leader, the head of the groups of 5 that the force usually operated in. They were usually around a B rank in adventure parlance, more than qualified enough for bodyguard duty. I could personally keep tabs on Mollyma's whereabouts once he was in my town, but in the meantime, if something happened to him over here, I'd find out immediately. Thus, I felt safe in saying hello to Fuse for a little bit. So I headed into the Free Guild's headquarters in Bloomend. Last time I was here, I made more of a splash than I meant to, so I was worried about a repeat. But despite a few threatening glares, I made it to the reception counter without a peep. I was wearing that mask the previous time, wasn't I? Maybe nobody recognized me, but hey, if they wouldn't let me see Fuse, I could just leave an invitation letter for him and head back home. Hey yo, I'm Rimuru, but can you take me to see the Guildmaster Fuse? Oh, here's my ID. I burped out the card from my stomach and handed it to the woman at the counter. That? The little girl's an adventurer? I heard someone exclaim behind me, but no matter. I was used to it. That lady remembered me, at least. Ah, yes, Rimuru. It's good to see you here again. How have you been? Hmm? Oh, great. You're looking quite well yourself. I sure am. And I see you've passed the examination over at HQ and made it to B+, huh? Well done. You have my respect. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? I really wanted to score an A, but I kind of got busy, so... Or really, it was too much of a pain in the ass to bother. Being ranked B or higher gave you a lot of perks, but it also came with more responsibilities. B+ was enough drudgery to deal with, so I figured I could earn my promotion only when I really needed to. Not like it was a salary position or anything. Like a volunteer fireman, I'd be tapped for duty whenever certain kinds of danger came along. In exchange, I got easier admission into foreign countries, as well as free food and boarding at guild branches. I appreciated the perks, sure, but I didn't really like being forced to do anything. But why rain on people's parade? Oh, I'm sure you'd pass with flying colors, Rimuru. I'll be cheering you on. You think? Well, thank you. I sure can't resist a young lady looking at me with those sparkling eyes. No, at least, not until she drops a bomb on me. By the way, Rimuru, it must be annoying to share a name with a demon lord, isn't it? If you'd like, you could take advantage of our renaming system to change your name in the guild archives, if you find it's causing you trouble. Lady. That'll let you conduct guild activity in the areas where your face isn't well known yet, albeit at one rank grade below your current one. What do you think? Oh crap, I forgot. Here I am, a demon lord, and I went and put that same damn name on all my paperwork. And now that Rimuru Tempest, the newbie in the Octagram, was a household name around the world, I guess being Rimuru the Adventurer would present a few issues. Time to retire from the guild, maybe? If I really needed work as an adventurer, I guess I could consider that renaming system, but... Or it'd be starting at the B rank, but that's good enough for me. Pretty helpful system there. Thanks for telling me about that. I'll keep that in mind. Now, do you think I might be able to see the Guildmaster? Right away, yes. Or right away, and yes, feel free to ask anytime. It took a little conversation, but she let me right in. I could hear shouts of, "Are you kidding me?" and "Who the hell is that girl?" among the rabble behind me, as well as commentary from a few people who must have seen me here last time. Oh, no way! I never knew she was so cute! Unbelievable. That's the face of the person who swatted down a lesser demon like a mosquito. And she had the same name as that demon lord, huh? You might think it might actually be him. Ha! What are you, stupid? Yeah. Sounds like more rumors would be spreading soon. Although, maybe I had less to worry about than I thought. Sharing a name didn't seem to arouse too much undue suspicion. Maybe the name Rimuru wasn't that uncommon after all. So I breezed into Fuse's office. The first thing he did upon seeing me was bring a hand to his temple. I ignored it. Hello, I'm back to pay a visit. Something up? Why the long face? Well, things were pretty slow for a while, until this demon lord came out of nowhere. But, whoa, really? Sounds like bad news. You sure you should be chilling out in here? I'm talking about the demon lord in front of me. So what is it this time? Oh, well, you better feed that demon lord some tea, shouldn't you? I think you'd enjoy a little bit of cake, too. Cake? You think I can pull that kind of luxury out from under my hat? I swear, why is a demon lord like you just gallivanting around the world without a care in the world? Fuse poured out some tea as he complained. He was diligent like that. I thanked him and took the cup, sipping from it before we got down to business. So, I'm sorry about everything that happened, Sir Rimuru. I tried putting pressure on the Western Holy Church, but it didn't work too well. And then the Crusaders got deployed. Nah, I doubt you could have done anything to stop them. There was this band called the 7 Days Clergy masterminding the whole thing. What? Yeah, that's probably why Hinata never listened to me when I tried pleading my case. The 7 Days. That legion of great heroes, tasked with protecting humankind? Apparently, yeah. They snared her too, but all's well that ends well. We worked out the misunderstandings, I think. But there was one casualty, unfortunately. A commander named Guard is missing in action. Guard of Fire, Fuse muttered with a frown. He's one of the 10 great saints, the protectors of humankind. quite gifted with a spear and flame-based magic, albeit not as gifted as Shizu was.
They killed the
I didn't know
the
Guard.
spear hero. Yay!
Yeah,
You bastard!
No, not you bastard.
No,
Fuck-
he's no.
fuck the spear
yeah,
hero,
fuck the
dude.
spear hero.
No, it's like
Yeah.
they killed Kede or
I
whatever.
know what you're saying, but no.
Yeah,
no,
no,
not to that guy.
Fuck the
No,
spear
fuck
hero.
the spear hero. Yeah,
he's
fuck
a
that guy.
dickhead. I didn't know Guard personally, apart from how he was after the clergy got to him. I couldn't say anything about his personality, but apparently he was a well-known name at least. Someone as well-connected as Fuse would certainly know him. I described him as missing, but killed, I suppose, was much more likely. Hopefully he's in a better place now. I felt bad for him. Moving on, I gave Fuse a recap of recent events, including the Walpurgis Council, since I knew he was concerned about that. There were now 8 demon lords united under the same name under the name of the Octagram, and I covered all of that, along with my conflict with Hinata in the Fall of 7 Days. I made sure, of course, to blur the true identity of Luminous. I had a reputation for blabbing when I shouldn't, but I wasn't dumb enough to let that vital a secret out. Excuse me. I see. You know, no matter how much we tried to make contact with them, they always just flatly denied us. The church's Blumen branch was a non-starter, so I sent someone over to their headquarters, and they still said we couldn't meet with anyone at the level of minister or above. I had no idea the clergy was behind all this. Yeah, Hinata said the same thing. The only thing uniting them, as she put it, was the god Luminous. Their faith, you know, that was the real thing. Humans are inherently weak, after all. They cling to the gods and their strength. Would you include yourself in that, Fuse? No, not me. When my strength fails me, I'm prepared to call it a life, so to speak. I'd hope for a miracle, of course, but I can't pray to a god I've never met before. Sounded like Fuse leaned towards atheism. Of course, this was a world where a real-life monster with superhuman powers could get worshipped as a god by the locals. They, at least, you could meet up with and see for yourself. That must have made them seem more reliable. Even Luminous only offered protection to the people she knew at first, and she didn't figure in Fuse's life at all. He just relied on himself instead, a little self-serving, but certainly easier to come to grips with. Yeah, well, I can certainly understand why people want to pray to a higher power, but in life, you get what you're dealt, you know? Anyway, regardless of what Luminous may or may not bless us with, the church and I are even now. That's all I need. Knowing Luminous personally taught me just how meaningless praying to her was, but not much point saying that. Sometimes prayer really can give a person strength. It wasn't for me to comment on. Fuse smiled. Very true. It's a load off my shoulders as well. I got the feeling he was depressed about failing to stop the church after I asked him to put the screws to them a bit. I just appreciated him looking out for me. We chatted for a while more over past events before I stood up, recalling something. Anyways, I better get going soon, but I want you to take this. I removed an envelope from my pocket and handed it to Fuse. It contained an invitation to the Founders Festival I was planning. We had gotten so caught up in conversation I almost forgot about it. This was why I came here today, after all. What's that? Well, I'm going to be holding my Demon Lord coronation soon, and I figured it'd be a good opportunity to advertise my town to the world. We're calling it the Founders Festival, and the way I picture it, it's going to be a huge blast. We're sending invites to all the royalty and nobility in the region, and I'd love for you to attend too. Huh? Wait a minute, Sir Rimuru. What would inviting someone like me accomplish? No, it's not a big deal. I have an invite here for the King of Blumen too. Can you make sure he gets it? Well, couldn't you give it to him?
What an idiot! It's no big deal. By the way, give this to your king. Like,
yeah, it's like it's not like the major political
Rimuru,
thing.
it's like
but
going to.
Why couldn't you do it, Rimuru?
It's like
that's what he
literally-
has.
It's like literally asking a coworker from America, "Hey, can you hand this to the president?"
Yeah, it's like what am I going to do?
Yeah, dude. All Americans know each other, don't you know?
Yeah, yes, we all have.
It's a really a small world, you see.
Yeah, man. It's such a
Jesus
small country.
Christ. Mm-hmm.
He's not
Well,
important or powerful.
couldn't
at
you give it to him? Oh, sorry.
all. Sorry.
Well, couldn't you? Oh, it's okay. But well, couldn't you give it to him directly? Maybe not. Oh, couldn't you give it to him directly? Maybe not. Nah, I gave the Dwarven King and Archduke Errol their invites personally, but I don't have many contacts in other nations. I smiled. I met your king once, but I don't think a demon lord would be invited to his throne room, would he? It's distressing enough for a demon lord to be in Bloomend, after all. Or it's distressing enough for a demon lord to be in Bloomend at all. Fuse snickered back. But thank you for this. I'll be sure this reaches the king. My errand was now done, and I was about to depart, but was stopped at the door. Oh, right. I needed to mention that the Grand Master was concerned about you. Negotiating with the Western Holy Church was a huge headache for him, so I'll be sure to say you've worked things out. Yuki was worried. A lot had happened since we last met. I was starting to miss him. Ah, yeah, I must have put a lot on his plate. Oh, not really. The guild has no interest in making an enemy out of the church, after all. If you were able to settle your differences without a fight, we couldn't ask for anything more. That was nice to hear. Oh, so that was him talking. Anyway, but I still felt like I owed the guild something. I know. I think I'll invite Yuki too. You think he'd mind? Hard to say. Not that I can speak for him, but he is a busy man. I'm not sure if he can make the time for it or not. Well, I can give him an escort to and from the event, so I'm sure he can attend at least one day, you know? If not, I can stop by to see him sometime soon, so give him this for me. As Fused watched, I wrote out a letter to him and included it in the envelope with the invites. Fused winced at me a little as he accepted it. Sir Rimuru, where did you get that paper from? Actually, on second thought, don't tell me. Can't you magically send it to him yourself? I'll do it, but he looked tired. Maybe I was asking for one too many casual favors.
Casual? Are you fucking ridiculous?
Yeah, that is not a casual favor.
You're just delivering
Sorry.
it to your king. No big deal.
Yeah, it's just
Go ahead.
yeah. Sorry about that. Thanks. Sure thing, Sir Rimuru. Oh, and Millam's coming too. I felt it best to be just as casual with that bombshell as he took the envelope. Millam? Oh no. Okay, see you there. With a smile, I half ran out from the office while he shouted after me. But wait! You don't mean that, Millam, do you? Hey! Let's just pretend I didn't hear.
Yeah,
As I
BT
escaped
Jobs
from the
Film's
guild-
coming to. Bye!
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of
just-
where
okay,
we're at.
no.
All right. You've got
Yeah, just
little around almost 2 pages left.
gotcha. As I escaped from the guild building, a man leaped out from behind a corner at me, taking a respectful knee. I, Gobemon, am here at your summons, Sir Rimuru. This man was one of the hobgoblins I named. Pretty ambitious guy. I think Rieger told me he and Gupta were fighting for the vice captain spot back when he was running our village forces. He had the strength to back that drive, of course.
Gobemon!
Hey, weren't you... Yeah, it's Gobemon. That's amazing. Hey, weren't you a lieutenant? You went to another unit after Gupta started captaining the Goblin Riders, didn't you? Lieutenant in Tempest armies was an officer who could be assigned a unit to lead if needed. They didn't necessarily have one to lead, which meant that captains were naturally above them, but it was still a much higher rank than the sergeants leading teams of 5 to 10 people. Yes, my lord. I was never one to serve below others, you see, so I thought I would work as an individual for now. Someday soon, I'd like to assemble my own direct command and lead a unit myself. Seems like he's got some real backbone. He gave up his chance at vice captain of the Goblin Riders because he didn't want to serve under Gupta, after all, so he must have had some pretty high aspirations. Do you? Well, keep up the good work. Now, listen, Molly Miles is someone very important to me. I need you to keep him safe without letting him notice, if possible. I think you could learn a lot from the way he sways people's minds. His financial acumen's enough to move the folks around him, but it's not just that. Think of it as a case study while you're guarding him. Yes, sir. I will keep that in mind as I execute my duty. Gobamon was up for it. The way Benimaru described him, he tended to rely too much on his own abilities, downplaying the strengths of the people below or alongside him. That's one reason he failed to reach captain despite being much more physically gifted than Gobta. If he could learn to be more of a team player, that captain's job could be his before long. I hoped he could grow into the rank. If you can carry this out and learn something from it, report back to me afterward. I'll give you this katana of mine as a reward. Kurobe had contacted me earlier to report that my personal sword was complete. I wouldn't need this one any longer. It was just a temporary weapon, but it was synced up with my aura well enough that I liked the results I got from it. I brought it in for maintenance after the Hinata battle, but Kurobe was pretty impressed with what he saw. I figured it was a nice enough carrot to dangle. Goemon's eyes opened wide with excitement. You will? Sure, I think you're gifted enough to make use of this, but stay diligent, all right? Prove to me you deserve it. Yes, sir. I will live up to your expectations. He immediately went into Molly Mile guard duty mode. That was almost too sly of me, offering that sword to him, but hopefully I got my point across. You had to earn the trust of your subordinates, like how people used to think about obligation and duty. If you didn't look out for and provide service to each other, it would wreck the whole master-servant relationship. I know I'm not exactly a stellar example of the ideal boss, but still, I hope Gomamon would answer my call in his own way. I had now distributed all my invitations. Now we just had to prep for the big day. It needed to be a festival like none before, as I thought over everything we needed for it. I could already feel my heart racing.
Okay,
That's it.
I apologize. This was
We're
an
done.
hour instead of half an hour.
Nah, you gotta do it in the Valley voice, because he won't let you do it for too much in the...
All right.
Well, hey, chat. How are you doing today?
I like how you slightly
Right
wavered.
when Richie got back.
You like slightly wavered when he came in through the door. You're like, "Hey, Chang."
Oh no.
Like, oh fuck.
Oh god, it's my
Yeah,
boss.
it's like, oh no, he's back.
All right, so the
Oh
next
god,
one.
it's him.
So the next one we're definitely gonna have to do in 2 parts because that chapter is way longer. But holy cow, I'm surprised we got through this in the short time that we did.
Yeah.
I
we powered
think
through.
I think you guys are really, really going to like next chapter. As much as we got the behind the scenes stuff for this, what is going to happen next is going to be something that gets built upon and built upon and built upon over the next 5-6 books. It's a major thing within Tempest. And it starts off as one thing, and then it keeps growing, and then it also becomes like something even more impressive. And it has to do with Ramirez and Beretta, and it's wonderful. So
Beretta, I don't know that.
Beretta? That's
You
Yeah,
kept
I thought
calling her
when
Beatrice.
you brought up Ramirez,
yeah.
I thought you were making more of the dungeon tower or whatever.
Ramirez
That's more
and
Valdora, I
Beretta.
guess.
Ramirez and Beretta are the couple that are coming. Beretta is the demon that serves Ramirez that Rimuru named and summoned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's that, and yeah. So
Oh,
the two
so
of
it's
them
still
are
could be,
showing.
okay.
Yeah, the two of them are showing up. It's gonna be a fun time. We'll get to talking about that pretty soon. We will see you all next week. You all will see me again this Sunday for Anime Church. But you won't
Unfortunately,
see.
I will not. Yeah, I will not be there due to plans that were made months ago that I forgot about because I'm just a terrible friend. I'm just an awful friend. I'm a terrible friend.
Is it like a wedding?
Terrible.
No, it's not so bad as a wedding, but they already paid for my tickets,
I was gonna say if
which
it
I
was a
can't
wedding, you
afford.
could just- if it
So I
was
was
a
just
wedding,
like,
you'd just be like, "I'm not going to that."
Dude, you forgot your friend.
That would
Weddings
depend
are
on
so
the
cool.
friend. That would depend
Yeah.
on the
Depend
friend.
on the
If it was a
friend,
friend I
it
didn't like much, it'd just be like,
If it was, it depend on the friend, depend on the food.
that too.
Yeah.
But we hope that you guys have enjoyed this little foray into slime and like some of the machinations that we have gotten into. And yeah, good stuff. I got to finish up my laundry because I've got a pile right over here that I got to start folding. You can kind of sort of see it right there. Right there. Yeah. All right. That having been said, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for sticking with us this late. And we will see you
Yep,
next
take
week.
care.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.